Meaning of life. The meaning of life is one of humanity's oldest and most intimate questions. It arises quietly in moments of joy, and loudly in moments of loss, asking not what we do, but why we exist at all. This question matters because it shapes how we endure suffering, celebrate love, and choose our paths. To ask about life's meaning is to ask how a finite human heart can live fully within an infinite mystery. At its core, meaning is not a single answer waiting to be discovered, but a relationship we form with existence itself. Philosophers have spoken of purpose, virtue, freedom, and responsibility, while others point to connection, creativity, and consciousness. Meaning emerges where awareness meets choice, when we decide what is worth caring for despite uncertainty. It is forged through values we live by, not truths we merely understand. In daily life, this perspective changes how we act. Work becomes an expression of contribution rather than obligation. Relationships become sacred spaces of presence rather than convenience. Even suffering can be transformed, not erased, when it is woven into growth, compassion, or service. Meaning guides ethical decisions and gives resilience when outcomes cannot be controlled. Ultimately, the meaning of life may not be something we find, but something we practice. It lives in how we love, how we endure, and how honestly we show up to the fragile miracle of being alive. Existentialism. Existentialism is a philosophy that confronts the deepest questions of human existence. It asks us to face life head-on, acknowledging the freedom we possess and the responsibility that comes with it. At its heart, it challenges the idea that life has a predetermined purpose, instead asserting that meaning is something we create through our choices and actions. Central to existentialism are ideas like freedom, authenticity, and the absurd. Freedom is both a gift and a burden. Every decision we make shapes who we are, yet this freedom can bring anxiety as we realize the weight of responsibility. Authenticity demands that we live in alignment with our true selves, rejecting societal pressures that try to dictate who we should be. The absurd highlights the tension between our desire for clarity and the universe's indifference, a gap that can either paralyze or liberate us. Terms like existence precedes essence, coined by Sartre, remind us that we are not born with a defined purpose, we must forge it. In daily life, existentialism encourages introspection and intentional living. It asks us to embrace our choices, even when uncomfortable, and to act with integrity. Ethical considerations arise naturally. If meaning is self-created, then our actions bear profound moral weight, urging us to consider the impact of our freedom on others. Ultimately, existentialism is a call to awaken. It stirs a mix of unease and exhilaration, prompting reflection on what it truly means to live fully. Life is not handed to us, it is ours to shape, moment by deliberate moment. Nihilism. Nihilism is the belief that life has no inherent meaning, purpose, or value. It challenges the very foundations of what we consider important, morals, traditions, and societal structures. Imagine looking at the world and realizing that nothing, at its core, truly matters. That is the unsettling yet profound lens of nihilism. At its heart, nihilism questions existence itself. It suggests that concepts like right and wrong, success and failure, even love and honor, are human-made illusions. This perspective can be liberating for some, freeing them from societal pressures, yet it can also be paralyzing, leaving a sense of emptiness. Key terminology often surfaces: existential nihilism, moral nihilism, and epistemological nihilism, each addressing meaninglessness in life, ethics, or knowledge respectively. The challenge lies in confronting these ideas without slipping into despair or cynicism. In daily life, nihilism can shift how we approach decisions. Without a predetermined purpose, actions become deeply personal choices rather than obligations imposed by tradition or authority. It raises tough ethical questions. If nothing matters universally, how do we treat others? Some find a raw freedom here, crafting their own values and meaning, while others struggle with the void it exposes. Society may appear fragile through a nihilist lens, yet this clarity can foster authenticity and courage to live deliberately. Ultimately, nihilism forces a mirror to our existence. It can unsettle, provoke, and awaken reflection, inviting us to navigate life with honesty, courage, and personal responsibility. Absurdism. Absurdism explores the tension between human beings' deep desire for meaning and the universe's apparent indifference. It is the recognition that life, in all its complexity, often offers no ultimate purpose, yet we persist in seeking one. This realization can stir unease, but also a strange liberation. Understanding the absurd allows us to live with honesty and courage. At the heart of absurdism lies the confrontation with life's contradictions. We cling to routines, ambitions, and beliefs, hoping they will provide clarity, yet the world offers none. Key terms such as the absurd, revolt, and freedom describe this struggle. The absurd is life's lack of inherent meaning, revolt is the conscious acknowledgement of this, and freedom emerges when we live fully despite it. The challenge is accepting uncertainty without succumbing to despair or false comfort, embracing life as it is rather than as we wish it to be. Practically, absurdism encourages a life of presence and authenticity. In daily life, it reminds us to find joy in fleeting moments, to engage fully with experiences without over-reliance on external validation. Society can benefit when individuals prioritize creativity, empathy, and genuine connection over rigid structures or dogmas. Ethically, it pushes us to act with responsibility and integrity, knowing that meaning is self-created, not granted. In essence, absurdism is both a mirror and a guide. It reflects life's emptiness yet illuminates a path to freedom, urging us to embrace the unpredictability of existence with awareness, defiance, and wonder. Stoicism. Stoicism is an ancient philosophy that offers timeless wisdom on how to live a fulfilled and resilient life. Born in Athens around 300 BCE, it teaches us that true happiness is found not in external possessions or fleeting pleasures but in mastering our thoughts, actions, and responses to life's inevitable challenges. At its core, Stoicism asserts that we cannot control what happens to us, but we can control how we respond to those events. The main principles of Stoicism are the pursuit of virtue, the cultivation of wisdom, and emotional resilience. The Stoic believes that by focusing on what is within our control, our thoughts, attitudes, and behaviors, we can achieve tranquility, even in the face of adversity. Challenges arise when we let external circumstances dictate our emotional well-being. Understanding that life is impermanent, Stoics focus on accepting suffering as a part of the human experience, rather than fighting against it. In everyday life, Stoicism encourages mindfulness, resilience, and intentional action. It urges individuals to reflect on their values and focus on what truly matters. Ethically, Stoicism promotes acting in harmony with nature, practicing justice, and embracing inner peace over external validation. In conclusion, Stoicism offers practical guidance on navigating life's ups and downs with grace and clarity. By embracing its teachings, we gain control over our emotions and actions, finding peace amidst chaos. Hedonism. Hedonism is the philosophical pursuit of pleasure as the highest good and ultimate aim of human life. It's the idea that our actions should maximize happiness and minimize pain. From ancient thinkers to modern interpretations, hedonism has shaped the way people view desire, satisfaction, and purpose. At its core, hedonism revolves around the principle that pleasure is intrinsically valuable. Life, according to this philosophy, is best lived when one seeks joy, comfort, and fulfillment. Challenges arise, however, when the pursuit of pleasure conflicts with long-term well-being, societal expectations, or ethical responsibilities. Words like gratification, sensuality, and contentment often surface in discussions, forming the essential terminology that frames this idea. In practical life, hedonism influences choices both subtle and overt. People indulge in gourmet meals, travel, art, and relationships as expressions of pleasure-seeking. Society mirrors this through entertainment industries, luxury markets, and leisure cultures. Yet, ethical concerns shadow this pursuit. Excess can lead to selfishness, addiction, or neglect of duty. Finding a balance between personal joy and collective responsibility becomes a moral compass for hedonists. Ultimately, hedonism asks us to reflect on what truly brings satisfaction. It challenges us to distinguish fleeting pleasures from meaningful happiness, urging conscious, thoughtful engagement with our desires. By embracing the philosophy mindfully, life can become a richer tapestry of experiences, where joy is sought responsibly, and every moment of pleasure carries deeper awareness and intention. Buddhism. Buddhism is a spiritual tradition and philosophy that began over 2,500 years ago with Siddhartha Gautama, known as the Buddha. At its heart, Buddhism seeks to understand the nature of suffering and the path to liberation, guiding individuals toward inner peace and mindfulness. Central to Buddhism are the Four Noble Truths. Life inevitably involves suffering, desire causes suffering, ending desire ends suffering, and following the Eightfold Path provides a practical guide to overcome it. The Eightfold Path emphasizes right understanding, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. Meditation, mindfulness, and ethical living are tools to cultivate awareness and compassion. Yet, the journey is not without challenges. Letting go of attachments and facing personal suffering can be demanding, requiring persistence and self-reflection. Core terms like karma, dharma, nirvana, and samsara shape understanding, framing life as a continuous interplay of actions and consequences. Buddhism influences daily life by encouraging mindful presence and thoughtful action. Compassion in interactions, ethical decision-making, and patience become living practices. Communities find harmony through shared meditation, service, and mutual respect. The emphasis on morality calls for honesty, non-harming, and generosity, creating a framework for both personal growth and societal well-being. Ultimately, Buddhism offers a reflective mirror. It challenges us to confront inner struggles, awaken compassion, and embrace impermanence. In its quiet wisdom, it invites a life of clarity, mindful awareness, and enduring peace, revealing that liberation begins not in distant realms but within each conscious moment. Ethics. Ethics is the compass that guides human behavior, shaping what we consider right or wrong. It is the invisible force behind our choices, urging us to act with integrity, fairness, and responsibility. Every decision we make, from small daily actions to life-altering choices, carries ethical weight. At its core, ethics revolves around principles such as honesty, justice, respect, and compassion. It challenges us to weigh personal desires against collective well-being, to question actions that may harm others, and to stand firm when faced with moral dilemmas. Life often presents situations where the path is unclear, where personal gain conflicts with fairness, or convenience clashes with honesty. These challenges test not only our judgment but the depth of our character. In practical terms, ethics is not just theory, it is visible in the way we treat colleagues, friends, strangers, and the environment. It informs corporate decisions, medical practices, and governance, shaping trust and credibility. Daily, it appears in moments as simple as returning lost property, speaking truthfully, or considering the impact of our choices on others. Ethical awareness also nurtures empathy, fostering communities where respect and dignity are valued over selfish advantage. Ultimately, ethics calls for reflection and conscious action. It asks us to examine our motives, embrace responsibility, and act with a sense of justice and care. By living ethically, we do not just follow rules, we create a world grounded in integrity, compassion, and mutual respect. The weight of our choices echoes far beyond ourselves. Eastern philosophy. Eastern philosophy is a vast body of thought originating in Asia, encompassing the wisdom of cultures such as India, China, Japan, and Tibet. It seeks to understand life, existence, and the mind, focusing on harmony, balance, and the interconnectedness of all things. Unlike Western philosophy, which often emphasizes debate and analysis, Eastern thought encourages introspection, meditation, and experiential understanding. At the heart of Eastern philosophy are ideas such as dharma, karma, yin and yang, and the pursuit of enlightenment. Life is seen as a journey, where actions carry consequences, and balance within oneself reflects balance with the universe. The mind and body are not separate but intertwined, and true understanding emerges from awareness and self-discipline. Challenges arise in interpreting these principles in modern life, where materialism, speed, and distractions can pull one away from mindfulness and inner peace. In practical terms, Eastern philosophy offers guidance for daily living. Meditation, ethical conduct, and mindful practices cultivate calmness, resilience, and clarity. It encourages compassion toward others and a sense of responsibility for the collective well-being. Even simple acts, like breathing consciously or responding rather than reacting, become a gateway to deeper awareness. Society benefits when individuals practice patience, empathy, and reflection, creating communities grounded in harmony rather than conflict. In the end, Eastern philosophy invites us to pause, observe, and engage with life fully. It teaches that true wisdom is not merely knowing, but living in alignment with the rhythms of existence, fostering inner peace and meaningful connection with the world. Determinism. Determinism is the view that every event in life happens because something else caused it. Your choices, habits, fears, and even your beliefs are shaped by prior events such as upbringing, environment, biology, and experience. Nothing appears suddenly or without reason. Each moment grows directly out of the moment before it, forming a continuous chain that shapes who you are and how you act. At its core, determinism rests on cause and effect. Actions follow conditions. Decisions follow influences. A child raised with patience learns calm responses, while one raised in chaos often learns survival. This view challenges the idea of complete personal control. Many struggle with the thought that free choice may be limited, fearing it removes responsibility or meaning. Others find discomfort in realizing that personal success or failure may not be purely self-made, but deeply connected to factors beyond control. In daily life, determinism can change how you judge yourself and others. You may respond with understanding instead of anger when someone makes a mistake. You may see personal growth as a process rather than a sudden change. In education, law, and mental health, this perspective encourages rehabilitation over punishment and support over blame. It reminds society to address root causes instead of only visible outcomes. In the end, determinism does not tell you to stop trying. It asks you to see clearly. By understanding the forces that shape your actions, you gain the power to reshape future outcomes, step by step, with awareness, patience, and intention. Utilitarianism. Utilitarianism is a way of judging right and wrong by looking at results. It asks a simple but demanding question: does this action reduce suffering and increase happiness for the greatest number of people? Instead of focusing on rules, intentions, or traditions, it turns attention to real outcomes: full stomachs, safer streets, fewer tears, and longer, healthier lives. In this view, moral choices are measured by their impact on human well-being. Utilitarianism values happiness, comfort, and freedom from pain. A choice is considered good if it helps more people than it harms. This idea encourages fairness, but it also raises tension. What happens when helping many causes deep pain to a few? Can numbers outweigh personal loss? These questions expose the discomfort of treating human lives as parts of a larger calculation, where emotions and individual stories risk being pushed aside. In daily life, utilitarian thinking shapes public decisions. Governments use it when setting health policies, building roads, or allocating disaster aid, aiming to save the most lives with limited resources. Individuals use it when choosing to donate money, speak up against harm, or make sacrifices for family and community. It quietly guides choices where trade-offs cannot be avoided. In the end, utilitarianism challenges us to look beyond ourselves. It asks us to feel the weight of our choices, to care about unseen others, and to accept responsibility for the happiness or suffering our actions create. Deontology. Deontology is a branch of ethics that emphasizes duty, rules, and moral obligations over consequences. It is the belief that certain actions are inherently right or wrong, regardless of the outcome they produce. At its core, deontology asks us to act according to principles that respect the dignity and rights of every individual, guiding our choices with an inner compass of moral duty. The central idea revolves around following universal moral laws. Actions are evaluated by their adherence to rules rather than the results they achieve. For instance, honesty is considered intrinsically good, lying is wrong, even if it seems to prevent harm. Challenges arise when rules conflict or appear rigid, forcing difficult decisions where multiple duties compete. Understanding terms like categorical imperative, introduced by Immanuel Kant, helps clarify that some obligations hold universally, without exception. In daily life, deontology shapes the way we treat others, encouraging fairness, integrity, and respect. It influences professions like medicine, law, and education, where adherence to ethical codes is crucial. Ethical considerations demand conscious reflection on whether actions honor the inherent value of people, rather than simply pursuing beneficial outcomes. The moral weight of our choices becomes personal, prompting self-examination and accountability. Ultimately, deontology inspires a life of principled consistency. It challenges us to rise above convenience, to act from a sense of duty, and to uphold the moral fabric that binds society. The discipline of following what is right, not just what is easy, cultivates character, trust, and a world that values justice over expedience. Holism. Holism is the understanding that every part of a system is interconnected, and the whole cannot be fully understood by examining its individual components alone. It invites us to see life as a tapestry, where each thread contributes to the beauty and function of the whole. Rather than isolating elements, holism encourages embracing relationships, contexts, and the subtle interactions that create meaning and balance. At its core, holism rests on the principle that the sum is greater than its parts. It challenges the reductionist approach, urging us to recognize patterns, connections, and the ripple effects of actions. Life, health, nature, and society are all arenas where holism speaks loudly. A person's well-being is linked to emotional, physical, and social dimensions. An ecosystem thrives when every species and process is valued. A community flourishes when cooperation and understanding prevail. Yet, holism also faces challenges. It can seem vague, complex, or difficult to quantify. Integrating holistic thinking requires patience, observation, and a willingness to embrace uncertainty. The practical power of holism shines when applied to daily life. Listening deeply to others, observing the balance in our environment, nurturing mind, body, and spirit together, these are acts of holistic living. Organizations and communities benefit when strategies consider the broader impact rather than isolated results. Decisions rooted in holism often lead to sustainability, resilience, and a richer quality of life. Ultimately, holism teaches us to pause, to see the interwoven beauty in the world, and to act with awareness that every choice touches the greater whole. It is an invitation to live fully, consciously, and compassionately. Moral relativism. Moral relativism is the idea that what is considered right or wrong is not fixed, but varies depending on culture, society, or individual perspective. It challenges the notion of universal moral truths and invites us to see the world through multiple lenses. What one society praises, another might condemn, and what one person believes as ethical, another may see as unjust. This perspective opens a dialogue about tolerance, understanding, and empathy, urging us to question our assumptions about morality. At its core, moral relativism rests on the belief that ethical principles are shaped by context. It emphasizes that customs, traditions, and social norms heavily influence what people see as acceptable behavior. Yet, this flexibility also presents challenges. If morality is entirely relative, it becomes difficult to condemn harmful practices universally. Where do we draw the line between cultural differences and human rights violations? This tension forces us to confront uncomfortable questions about justice and fairness, pushing us to reflect deeply on our moral judgments. In everyday life, moral relativism manifests in how we interact with people from different backgrounds. It encourages open-mindedness, patience, and dialogue instead of quick condemnation. Decisions, from personal relationships to social policies, can benefit from this awareness, fostering a more compassionate society. Understanding that morality is not absolute allows us to navigate conflicts with humility, recognizing that others' choices often stem from values shaped by experiences we may never fully grasp. Ultimately, moral relativism invites reflection, empathy, and thoughtful consideration of what it truly means to live ethically in a diverse world. Free will. Free will is the sense that we are the authors of our own choices, that each decision we make stems from our personal intentions rather than being fully dictated by external forces. It is the quiet, powerful feeling of standing at a crossroads and knowing that the path we choose belongs solely to us. At its heart, free will confronts questions about responsibility and autonomy. Philosophers debate whether our choices are genuinely ours or merely the product of biology, environment, or circumstance. Some argue that every decision is predetermined by prior causes, while others insist that our consciousness allows us a unique space to act independently. The tension between these perspectives challenges how we view morality, guilt, and achievement. If our choices are not entirely our own, what does it mean to praise or blame? Yet the very struggle to decide, to deliberate, to weigh consequences, reminds us of the beauty and weight of human agency. Free will shapes the way we live and interact. Every act of kindness, every pursuit of passion, every risk taken stems from the belief that we are capable of choosing. In society, it underpins justice systems, personal accountability, and ethical conduct. It drives creativity, innovation, and the courage to change one's path, even when circumstances feel oppressive. Ultimately, free will is a mirror reflecting both our power and our vulnerability. It is the whisper that says, "This is your choice," and the reminder that with that freedom comes the responsibility to live consciously, intentionally, and with meaning. Moral absolutism. Moral absolutism is the belief that certain actions are intrinsically right or wrong, regardless of context, culture, or individual perspective. It insists on a universal standard of morality that applies to everyone, everywhere. This concept challenges us to confront ethical questions with a sense of unwavering clarity, compelling us to reflect deeply on what justice, honesty, and integrity truly mean. At its core, moral absolutism rests on principles that do not bend to circumstances. Truthfulness is always right, cruelty is always wrong. These ideas demand consistency in our choices and hold us accountable to higher ethical standards. Yet, the rigidity of moral absolutism also faces criticism. Life is rarely black and white, and situations often blur the line between right and wrong. Critics argue that moral absolutism can feel judgmental or disconnected from the nuances of human experience, creating tension when strict rules collide with compassion or practical reality. In daily life, moral absolutism encourages individuals to act with steadfast principles, resisting the temptation to rationalize wrongdoing. It shapes laws, social norms, and personal conduct, inspiring movements that fight for universal human rights. Even when decisions are difficult, the framework of moral absolutism provides a compass, offering clarity and conviction in moments of moral uncertainty. Ultimately, moral absolutism invites reflection on the essence of right and wrong. It challenges us to live with integrity, confront uncomfortable truths, and pursue justice not as a convenience, but as an enduring moral commitment. Aesthetics. Aesthetics is the study of beauty and taste, the way we perceive and respond to the world around us. It's about why a sunset can make our hearts swell, why music can stir deep emotions, or why a painting can feel alive. It's not just what we see, but what we feel, the invisible threads connecting perception and emotion. At its core, aesthetics explores harmony, balance, and proportion. It examines what makes something pleasing or moving. Symmetry in architecture, color in art, rhythm in music, or even the elegance of everyday objects, these principles guide our appreciation. Yet, beauty is not universal. Cultural differences, personal experiences, and even moods shape how we interpret the world. The challenge lies in this subjectivity. What touches one's soul may leave another indifferent, and what is celebrated today may be ignored tomorrow. Aesthetics touches every aspect of life. In design, it shapes spaces that feel comfortable and inspiring. In fashion, it expresses identity and emotion. In nature, it invites reflection, calm, and wonder. Paying attention to aesthetics encourages mindfulness, helping us notice subtle details and find joy in ordinary moments. It transforms routines into experiences and surroundings into stories. Ultimately, aesthetics is a bridge between perception and feeling. It reminds us that life is not only about function or survival but about savoring, noticing, and connecting deeply with the beauty woven into the everyday. It teaches us to see, feel, and live with awareness. Compatibilism. Compatibilism is the philosophical view that free will and determinism are not mutually exclusive. It suggests that even if our actions are influenced or determined by prior events, we can still be considered free as long as we act according to our desires and intentions without external coercion. This perspective bridges the gap between the feeling of personal choice and the realities of causality, making sense of how humans navigate responsibility and control. At the heart of compatibilism lies the idea that freedom is about alignment with one's internal motivations rather than the absence of causation. It emphasizes moral responsibility, asserting that we can be held accountable for choices that reflect our character and reasoning. Critics, however, argue that if our desires themselves are shaped by forces beyond our control, true freedom remains illusory. This tension challenges us to reflect deeply on what it means to act intentionally and ethically in a world governed by cause and effect. In practical terms, compatibilism influences how we assign praise and blame. Understanding that behavior arises from both personal intent and external conditions encourages compassion while maintaining standards of accountability. In daily life, it helps us navigate conflicts, make deliberate choices, and recognize the interplay between circumstance and agency. By embracing this perspective, we cultivate a sense of empowerment without denying the influences that shape us, finding balance between responsibility and understanding. Ultimately, compatibilism invites introspection about our freedom, urging us to act with awareness, empathy, and moral clarity, even within the bounds of a determined universe. Dualism. Dualism is the philosophical view that reality is divided into two fundamental, distinct parts, often described as mind and body, or mental and physical. It suggests that the mind, our thoughts, consciousness, and emotions, exist separately from the tangible, physical world of matter. This idea invites us to reflect on the very nature of who we are and how we experience life. At its core, dualism explores the relationship between the inner world of thought and feeling and the external, observable world. It raises profound questions. How can a non-physical mind influence a physical body? Are our choices determined by the brain's chemistry, or does something deeper guide us? Philosophers like Descartes argued that the mind is a distinct entity, capable of existing independently from the body, while critics point to the challenges of explaining how these two realms interact. The tension between mind and body creates both wonder and frustration, revealing the complexity of our existence. In practical terms, dualism shapes how we view health, morality, and personal growth. In medicine, it influences approaches that consider both mental and physical well-being. In everyday life, it encourages mindfulness, self-reflection, and understanding the profound interplay between thought and action. Our emotions, intentions, and consciousness become not just chemical reactions but reflections of something deeply human. Ultimately, dualism invites us to explore our inner lives while engaging with the material world. It prompts a delicate, reflective awareness of the self, a bridge between mind and body, reminding us that our existence is both felt and lived, both fragile and infinite. Materialism. Materialism is the belief that physical possessions, wealth, and tangible things define our happiness and success. It is the idea that accumulating objects and money brings fulfillment, often overshadowing emotional and spiritual well-being. People caught in materialism measure life's value by what they own rather than what they feel or experience. At its core, materialism emphasizes the importance of acquiring goods, luxury, and status symbols. It suggests that possessions provide security, identity, and a sense of achievement. Yet, it comes with challenges. The endless pursuit of more can create dissatisfaction, stress, and even isolation. The pressure to keep up with others' possessions can trap individuals in cycles of comparison and anxiety. While material things can enhance comfort, relying solely on them for happiness often leads to emptiness. In practical life, materialism affects choices, relationships, and priorities. People may focus more on earning and buying rather than connecting meaningfully with others. Society promotes materialism through advertisements, social media, and cultural expectations, subtly teaching that self-worth is tied to what one owns. On a personal level, it can influence spending habits, career decisions, and even mental health, often leaving individuals restless despite apparent success. Reflecting on materialism invites us to reconsider what truly matters. Beyond possessions, human connection, experiences, creativity, and inner peace offer deeper satisfaction. Recognizing this balance allows life to feel richer, not because of what we hold, but because of what we live and share. The heart often remembers moments, not things. Idealism. Idealism is the belief that reality is fundamentally shaped by the mind, ideas, or consciousness. It emphasizes the power of thought and perception over material existence, suggesting that what we imagine and believe can influence the world around us. At its heart, idealism celebrates human creativity, moral aspiration, and the pursuit of higher truths. It invites us to look beyond the surface of daily life and seek meaning in ideals, values, and dreams. Central to idealism is the notion that ideas are the driving force of life. The mind is not merely a passive observer but an active creator of experience. Concepts like moral goodness, beauty, and justice are not just abstract, they guide human action and shape society. Challenges arise when ideals clash with reality. Lofty visions can face skepticism, resistance, or misinterpretation. Yet, this tension itself fuels growth, urging individuals and communities to strive for something greater than immediate material gain. Idealism finds expression in everyday life through acts of empathy, creativity, and principled action. Artists, thinkers, and leaders channel their visions to inspire change, while ordinary people practice kindness, hope, and imagination in small, meaningful ways. Even in moments of struggle, holding on to ideals fosters resilience, shaping choices that honor both personal integrity and collective well-being. Ultimately, idealism is a quiet but persistent force. It encourages reflection, nurtures hope, and reminds us that the mind's vision can illuminate paths reality alone cannot reveal. It is a call to live not only for what is, but for what could be. Realism. Realism is a way of looking at the world that focuses on representing life exactly as it is. It is about seeing and understanding life without exaggeration or idealization. It shows the ordinary, the everyday struggles, and the truths that people often overlook. Realism does not create fantasy, it reflects the tangible world, capturing human behavior, emotions, and societal conditions with honesty. It is grounded, relatable, and raw in its approach, making the invisible visible. At its core, Realism emphasizes authenticity. It portrays people as they truly are, not as heroes or villains, but as complex beings with strengths, flaws, and contradictions. It values accuracy in detail, whether in describing a bustling city street, a quiet rural life, or the inner workings of human relationships. Realism also highlights social and moral issues, forcing us to confront the challenges of life, poverty, inequality, corruption, and the struggles of ordinary people. Its principle is simple yet profound: the world should be shown as it is, and human experiences should be honored in their genuine form. In practice, realism shapes how we perceive literature, art, and even our daily interactions. It encourages empathy by helping us see the lives of others, fostering understanding across social and cultural divides. Realism guides decision-making grounded in facts, not illusions, and reminds us to face reality with clarity, responsibility, and compassion. Realism teaches us to appreciate life's ordinary beauty and harsh truths alike. It calls us to observe, reflect, and act with honesty, creating a world where truth, in all its shades, becomes our guide. Skepticism. Skepticism is the practice of questioning the truth of knowledge, beliefs, and claims. It is not cynicism or disbelief for the sake of it, but a disciplined approach to understanding the world. A skeptic pauses before accepting statements as fact, seeking evidence, logic, and reason. At its core, skepticism revolves around doubt and inquiry. It urges us to examine assumptions, recognize biases, and resist the comfort of certainty. Principles such as critical thinking, evidence-based reasoning, and intellectual humility guide a skeptic's approach. Yet, skepticism is not without challenges. It can lead to indecision, hesitation, or social friction, as constant questioning sometimes unsettles established norms or relationships. The balance between healthy inquiry and perpetual doubt is delicate, demanding both courage and patience. In daily life, skepticism becomes a tool for clarity and safety. From evaluating news on social media to questioning persuasive advertising or political claims, it shapes informed choices. It encourages asking, "How do I know this?" rather than blindly accepting assertions. In society, skepticism fosters accountability, innovation, and progress, as ideas are refined through scrutiny. It also nurtures empathy, as understanding different perspectives requires examining our own assumptions. Ultimately, skepticism invites reflection. It challenges comfort, provokes thought, and strengthens understanding. By embracing doubt with care, we cultivate a mind that is alert, discerning, and alive to the subtle truths around us, making each decision, belief, and observation richer and more meaningful. Empiricism. Empiricism is the philosophy that all knowledge originates from sensory experience. It is the belief that seeing, touching, hearing, and observing the world around us forms the foundation of understanding. From the taste of a sweet fruit to the sight of a sunset, every fragment of experience contributes to building our grasp of reality. It emphasizes learning through doing, noticing, and questioning what is observable, rather than relying solely on intuition or abstract reasoning. At its heart, empiricism revolves around observation, evidence, and experience. It asserts that human understanding grows as we gather facts, test ideas, and verify them through experience. It encourages curiosity, skepticism, and careful attention to the world. However, it faces challenges. Sensory information can be misleading, perception can be subjective, and sometimes experience alone cannot reveal deeper truths. Despite these limitations, it remains a powerful tool to navigate reality. Empiricism shapes everyday life in subtle yet profound ways. Scientists conduct experiments, doctors observe symptoms to diagnose illness, and engineers test designs before implementation. Even ordinary decisions, choosing what food tastes best, learning a new skill, or understanding human behavior, rely on careful observation and trial. Society progresses when ideas are tested against reality, refined, and shared, highlighting the enduring value of experience over mere speculation. Ultimately, empiricism reminds us to engage with the world actively, to value what is seen and felt, and to recognize that understanding is earned through attention, curiosity, and lived experience. It is a gentle nudge to trust the evidence around us and let life itself be our greatest teacher. Rationalism. Rationalism is the belief that reason and intellect are the primary sources of knowledge. It emphasizes that human beings can understand truth and reality not just through experience, but through logical thinking and critical analysis. At its heart, rationalism trusts the mind's power to discern patterns, solve problems, and reach certainty. Central to rationalism are ideas like innate knowledge, the reliance on deduction, and the pursuit of universal truths. Philosophers argue that certain truths exist independently of experience, waiting to be uncovered through reason. Yet, rationalism faces challenges. Critics question whether pure reason alone can capture the complexities of life or the subtleties of human emotion. Sometimes, reason clashes with sensory experiences, leaving dilemmas that intellect alone cannot resolve. Despite these challenges, rationalism has profound practical implications. It drives scientific inquiry, encouraging people to question assumptions and seek evidence-based solutions. In daily life, rational thinking helps in decision-making, problem-solving, and even managing emotions by bringing clarity and perspective. Societies that embrace rational approaches often foster innovation, critical education, and fair governance. Ultimately, rationalism invites a reflective journey. It challenges us to trust our minds, yet remain humble in the face of unknowns. It teaches that while feelings may guide us, understanding emerges when thought and logic illuminate the path. Rationalism is more than philosophy, it is a call to awaken the mind, question the unquestioned, and navigate life with thoughtful clarity. Pragmatism. Pragmatism is a philosophy that emphasizes action and results over abstract principles. It is the belief that ideas must prove their worth through practical consequences and usefulness in real life. Rather than dwelling on rigid theories, pragmatism asks, does this work? Does it solve a problem? It celebrates flexibility, adaptation, and tangible outcomes, guiding thought through experience and evidence. At its core, pragmatism revolves around ideas being tools. Truth is not fixed in a distant ideal but revealed through what works in everyday situations. It teaches that beliefs, policies, and decisions should be judged by their effects, and nothing should be valued if it fails to produce meaningful results. This practical lens encourages experimentation, openness to change, and a willingness to let go of dogma when it hinders progress. Challenges arise when balancing pragmatism with ethics or long-term ideals, as what works today might create unforeseen problems tomorrow. In daily life, pragmatism manifests in decision-making, problem-solving, and innovation. Choosing solutions that produce tangible improvements, learning from trial and error, and prioritizing results over prestige or tradition exemplify its influence. In society, pragmatic approaches guide policy, education, and technology, emphasizing what benefits communities and individuals most effectively. Ultimately, pragmatism is a call to live thoughtfully yet actively. It asks us to weigh consequences, embrace practical solutions, and remain adaptive. Life is complex, but through pragmatism, we learn that progress lies not in perfection but in what truly works and improves our world. Phenomenology. Phenomenology is the study of conscious experience from a first-person perspective. It invites us to pause, to notice how we perceive the world, how objects, people, and events appear to us, and how our awareness shapes reality itself. It is less about what exists out there, and more about how life is lived and felt through our consciousness. Imagine seeing a tree, not just as wood and leaves, but as the experience of greenness, height, texture, and the calm it brings to your mind. Phenomenology asks us to dwell in that moment of perception. At its heart are ideas of intentionality, the notion that consciousness is always about something, essence, the core nature of experiences, and epoche, the practice of suspending judgment to see phenomena clearly. These principles encourage deep reflection, yet they are challenging because they demand letting go of assumptions and habitual interpretations. Life is rarely simple or transparent, and phenomenology confronts the difficulty of truly describing experience without coloring it with preconceptions. In practical terms, phenomenology influences how we relate to others and our surroundings. It enhances empathy by urging us to consider others' lived experiences, informs psychology, education, and even design, helping create spaces, products, and practices that resonate with human perception. By tuning into the textures of daily life, the warmth of sunlight, the tone of a conversation, the rhythm of walking, it allows life to feel richer, more present, and profoundly human. Ultimately, phenomenology teaches that every moment carries depth. Observing, feeling, and understanding the world from within transforms ordinary experience into something meaningful, intimate, and alive. Structuralism. Structuralism opens a window into understanding the hidden patterns that govern human thought and culture. It invites us to look beyond the surface of language, literature, and society to uncover the underlying frameworks that shape meaning. At its core, structuralism suggests that every element, be it a word, a ritual, or a symbol, gains significance through its relationship to others. It is not isolated objects we should study, but the web of connections that gives them life. The main ideas of structuralism revolve around the belief that systems, whether linguistic or social, operate through rules and oppositions. Language, for example, is a network of signs where meaning emerges only in relation to what something is not. Similarly, myths and cultural practices reveal deeper structures about human cognition and behavior. While structuralism illuminates these patterns, it also faces challenges. Critics argue it can be rigid, overemphasizing universality and neglecting individual experience and historical context. In daily life, structuralism quietly influences how we interpret stories, fashion, and even social interactions. By recognizing patterns in language or behavior, we understand why certain narratives resonate and how cultural norms persist. It encourages a reflective awareness of the frameworks shaping our perceptions, nudging us to see the world not just as a collection of isolated events but as an interconnected system of meanings. Ultimately, structuralism teaches us to pause and contemplate the invisible architecture behind everyday life. It transforms ordinary observations into profound insights about how we construct and comprehend reality. Post-Structuralism. Post-Structuralism is a way of thinking that questions fixed meanings and challenges the idea that language or texts have a single, stable interpretation. It emerged as a response to structuralism, which believed the world could be understood through underlying structures and systems. Post-structuralists argue that meaning is fluid, dependent on context, perspective, and the endless play of language. It invites us to see reality not as a fixed truth but as a mosaic of interpretations, always shifting and evolving. At its core, post-structuralism emphasizes that language shapes reality rather than merely describing it. It suggests that every text, conversation, or cultural artifact carries multiple layers of meaning, often contradicting itself. This approach challenges assumptions about authority, identity, and truth, showing how power, history, and social norms influence understanding. Concepts like deconstruction, intertextuality, and the instability of signs illustrate how meanings are never absolute but constantly negotiated. This makes it both intellectually exciting and sometimes unsettling, as it questions certainty and forces a deeper reflection on how we perceive the world. In practical terms, post-structuralism impacts education, media, politics, and personal interactions. It encourages critical reading, open dialogue, and recognition of diverse perspectives. In everyday life, it reminds us to question assumptions, understand multiple viewpoints, and approach social narratives with curiosity rather than acceptance. It empowers individuals to embrace complexity, ambiguity, and the richness of human experience. Ultimately, post-structuralism invites us to live thoughtfully, to observe the shifting patterns of meaning around us, and to engage with the world not as passive recipients of knowledge, but as active participants in interpreting reality. Postmodernism. Postmodernism is a movement that questions the certainty of knowledge and the grand narratives that once defined society. It emerged as a response to modernism, challenging rigid structures, absolute truths, and traditional authority. At its heart, it embraces ambiguity, diversity, and multiple perspectives, inviting us to reconsider what we accept as reality. It revolves around ideas like skepticism toward universal truths, the fluidity of identity, and the rejection of absolute hierarchies. Postmodernism celebrates fragmented narratives, irony, and paradox, suggesting that meaning is not fixed but constantly constructed through culture, language, and social interaction. It encourages us to see beyond the surface, to question dominant ideologies, and to explore marginalized voices, which often remain unheard in traditional frameworks. In practical terms, postmodernism affects art, literature, architecture, and everyday life. It pushes creators to experiment, blend styles, and embrace pastiche. In society, it encourages critical thinking, challenges stereotypes, and promotes inclusivity. By questioning conventions, it fosters creativity, allowing people to see the world through diverse lenses, encouraging empathy and open-mindedness. Ultimately, postmodernism asks us to embrace uncertainty and complexity. It reminds us that life is not a simple narrative with a single meaning, but a mosaic of experiences, interpretations, and possibilities. By doing so, it invites reflection, dialogue, and a deeper awareness of our place within an ever-shifting cultural and social landscape. Humanism. Humanism is a philosophy that celebrates the dignity, potential, and worth of every human being. It encourages us to focus on reason, empathy, and the power of human intellect rather than relying solely on tradition or dogma. At its heart, humanism is about believing in the capacity of people to shape their lives and create a better world. Its principles revolve around valuing individual experience, seeking knowledge, and fostering compassion. Humanism emphasizes critical thinking, moral responsibility, and the pursuit of personal growth. It invites us to question, explore, and understand ourselves and the world around us. Yet, embracing humanism is not without challenges. It requires constant reflection, honesty about our biases, and courage to act ethically in complex situations. The path of humanism asks us to balance self-interest with the greater good and to nurture both intellect and heart. In practice, humanism transforms everyday life. It encourages us to treat others with kindness, make informed decisions, and engage in creative problem-solving. In society, it inspires education, scientific inquiry, and humanitarian efforts. Whether through fostering meaningful relationships, volunteering, or championing social justice, humanist values guide actions that honor human potential and collective well-being. Ultimately, humanism is a reminder that every individual carries the power to think, feel, and act with purpose. It calls us to embrace life fully, to value human connections, and to strive for a world where understanding, compassion, and knowledge illuminate our shared journey. Transhumanism. Transhumanism is the belief in using technology to enhance the human body and mind beyond its natural limitations. It envisions a future where illness, aging, and even death could be mitigated through scientific advancements. Imagine a world where humans could think faster, remember more, or live centuries longer. It is the marriage of biology and technology, reshaping what it means to be human. At its core, transhumanism revolves around improvement, physical, intellectual, and emotional. Concepts like cybernetic enhancements, genetic modification, and brain-computer interfaces illustrate the possibilities. But this vision comes with challenges. Ethical questions abound. Who decides which enhancements are acceptable, and could this deepen inequality? What does it mean for identity when a person is partly machine, or their mind can exist digitally? These dilemmas weigh heavily on society, provoking debate about morality, fairness, and the essence of humanity itself. The implications are tangible. Advanced prosthetics could restore mobility, neural implants might expand learning capacities, and longevity treatments could redefine careers and family life. Cities, workplaces, and homes may be designed to accommodate enhanced humans, while education systems could focus on mental augmentation. Transhumanism is not just science fiction, it is already influencing medicine, technology, and culture in ways we touch every day. Ultimately, transhumanism challenges us to confront our deepest fears and highest aspirations. It asks whether we dare to transcend our biological limits, and what we are willing to risk for a chance at a more extraordinary human experience. It is both a mirror and a roadmap for the future of humanity. Naturalism. Naturalism is a literary and philosophical movement that seeks to depict life with unflinching realism, showing the world and human behavior as it truly is, often governed by environment, heredity, and social conditions. It strips away illusions, presenting life in its raw, sometimes harsh reality, revealing the intricate interplay between humans and their surroundings. At its core, naturalism emphasizes observation, objectivity, and determinism. It portrays individuals as shaped by forces beyond their control, biology, social pressures, and circumstance. Characters are often depicted in struggles against nature, society, or their own instincts, highlighting vulnerability and resilience. The principles of naturalism stress that human behavior is predictable, influenced by environment and heredity, rather than free will alone. Challenges arise because this approach can seem pessimistic, portraying life as deterministic and sometimes cruel, leaving little room for idealism or moral certainty. In everyday life, naturalism invites a deeper awareness of the environment's impact on our choices, relationships, and growth. It encourages empathy by showing that people's actions are often the result of forces they cannot fully command. From literature to cinema, understanding naturalistic principles helps society confront social injustices, environmental issues, and human vulnerabilities with honesty and compassion. It can shape policies, inspire social reform, and remind us to recognize the subtle, powerful influences that shape behavior. Ultimately, naturalism urges reflection on life's complexities, making us both observers and participants in the world's unvarnished reality. It challenges us to see clearly, feel deeply, and act wisely in a universe that is at once beautiful and unrelenting. Reductionism. Reductionism is the approach of understanding complex phenomena by breaking them down into their simplest components. It seeks clarity by examining the building blocks of systems, believing that the whole can be fully explained by its parts. At its core, it is a lens that magnifies the small to explain the grand, offering a sense of order in an otherwise chaotic world. The main idea is that everything, from the mind to society, can be analyzed by isolating its elements. Science often embraces this: molecules explain biology, neurons explain behavior, atoms explain matter. But this clarity comes with challenges. Life is messy, and some patterns emerge only when parts interact. Over-reduction risks stripping away the richness of context, leaving explanations that feel hollow or incomplete. The tension between simplicity and complexity is constant, and acknowledging what is lost in the process is essential. In practical terms, reductionism shapes daily life and society. Medicine targets diseases at the cellular level, technology breaks tasks into precise functions, and education often teaches subjects in isolated units. It empowers innovation, efficiency, and understanding, yet it also risks ignoring the bigger picture. Emotions, culture, and ecosystems can be fractured when viewed solely as sums of parts. Reflecting on reductionism invites both awe and caution. It is a tool, a perspective, a way to glimpse the machinery of existence. But life whispers that understanding only the pieces may never fully capture the poetry of the whole. Virtue ethics. Virtue ethics is a moral philosophy that focuses on the character of a person rather than simply evaluating actions as right or wrong. It emphasizes becoming a good person, cultivating qualities that make life and society flourish. Instead of following strict rules, it invites us to reflect on who we aspire to be and how our choices shape our moral identity. At its core, virtue ethics revolves around cultivating virtues such as honesty, courage, compassion, and wisdom. These are not mere habits but deep-seated traits that guide behavior naturally. The philosophy encourages self-reflection, asking us to consider whether our actions reflect the kind of person we want to become. Yet, challenges arise in applying virtue ethics universally. Different cultures may value different traits, and ambiguity exists when virtues conflict, leaving us to navigate complex moral landscapes without clear-cut answers. In everyday life, virtue ethics inspires mindfulness in our interactions. It shapes how we approach relationships, work, and community life, urging consistency between values and actions. Practicing patience in a heated discussion, showing integrity in small decisions, or offering kindness to strangers becomes meaningful when framed as building character. Society benefits when individuals cultivate virtues that promote trust, empathy, and cooperation. Ultimately, virtue ethics asks us to look inward, to strive for moral excellence not as a checklist, but as a lifelong journey. It reminds us that the essence of morality lies not only in our deeds but in the heart and mind from which those deeds arise, shaping lives that resonate with purpose and integrity. Political philosophy. Political philosophy is the study of ideas and beliefs about how societies should be organized, how power should be distributed, and what justice truly means. It explores questions about authority, freedom, rights, and responsibilities, aiming to understand the principles that guide human coexistence. At its heart, it seeks answers to how we can live together fairly, peacefully, and with dignity. Central to political philosophy are concepts like liberty, equality, justice, and the common good. Thinkers have debated whether freedom should be absolute or balanced with societal duties, whether equality means identical treatment or equitable opportunities, and how justice can be applied to real-life situations. These principles often clash in practice, creating tensions between individual desires and collective needs, revealing the delicate dance of governance and morality. The implications of political philosophy are visible in everyday life. Laws, voting systems, education, and public policies reflect the values we prioritize. Understanding political philosophy empowers citizens to question authority, advocate for fairness, and participate meaningfully in society. It shapes debates on welfare, human rights, and environmental responsibility, reminding us that every choice has ethical consequences and every policy reflects a vision of the world we want to live in. Reflecting on political philosophy encourages us to think critically about our roles in society. It awakens an awareness that the world we inhabit is not fixed but crafted by human ideas and actions. By engaging with it, we not only understand society better but also find our voice in shaping a just and compassionate future. Social contract theory. From the earliest stirrings of human society, people have sought ways to live together in harmony, and social contract theory captures this timeless pursuit. At its core, it is the idea that individuals consent, either explicitly or implicitly, to give up certain freedoms and submit to collective rules in exchange for security, order, and mutual benefit. It is not just philosophy, it is a lens through which the delicate balance between personal liberty and social responsibility comes alive. The central principle is simple yet profound: people agree to coexist under shared norms and governance to prevent chaos and protect common good. Thinkers like Hobbes, Locke, and Rousseau each shaped its contours, offering visions where authority derives not from force but from the consent of those it governs. Yet, challenges persist. How much freedom can one surrender without losing identity? How can justice prevail when consent is assumed rather than deliberate? These tensions remain pressing questions, whispering that no society is ever truly perfect. In everyday life, this theory manifests in laws we follow, in the trust we place in institutions, and in the unwritten codes of civility that bind communities. From obeying traffic rules to respecting privacy, from participating in elections to standing against injustice, the social contract is lived daily, often unnoticed yet deeply felt. Ultimately, social contract theory reminds us that society thrives not merely through rules but through understanding, empathy, and the shared courage to put collective well-being above unchecked individual desire. It is both a guide and a mirror, reflecting our responsibilities as much as our rights. Justice. Justice is the principle of fairness, ensuring that every individual receives what they rightfully deserve. It is the guiding force that balances the rights and responsibilities of people in society, creating trust, security, and a sense of moral order. At its core, justice is not merely about punishment or reward, it is about equality, honesty, and respect for human dignity. Justice rests on the ideas of fairness, accountability, and impartiality. It demands that decisions are made without favoritism, bias, or prejudice. Yet, challenges persist. Power, corruption, and systemic inequalities often distort the path to true justice. Societies wrestle with the tension between laws and morality, and individuals face personal struggles when right and wrong blur under complex circumstances. These challenges highlight that justice is not a static ideal but a continuous pursuit, requiring vigilance and empathy. In daily life, justice manifests in simple acts, treating others with respect, standing against unfairness, and speaking out when rights are violated. In society, it underpins legal systems, social policies, and community norms, guiding leaders to protect the vulnerable and hold wrongdoers accountable. Justice shapes relationships, strengthens communities, and gives hope that fairness can prevail even amidst chaos. Ultimately, justice is the heartbeat of human coexistence. It calls on us to reflect on our actions, demand equity, and foster compassion. By embracing justice in thought and action, we build a society where every person can feel safe, valued, and heard. Equality. Equality is the belief that every person deserves the same respect, opportunities, and rights, no matter their background, gender, race, or beliefs. It is the quiet force that ensures fairness in how people are treated and valued in society. At its heart, equality is about recognizing that no one is inherently superior or inferior to another. It is not simply a law or a policy, it is a shared understanding that every individual's dignity matters. The essence of equality lies in fairness, justice, and inclusion. It challenges deep-rooted prejudices, systemic barriers, and social hierarchies that keep people from realizing their potential. Achieving equality requires confronting uncomfortable truths, questioning traditions that favor a few, and committing to creating spaces where everyone can thrive. The struggle is real, bias, discrimination, and unequal opportunities persist, reminding us that equality is not just an idea, but a continuous effort. In everyday life, equality is reflected in small but powerful ways, sharing responsibilities, valuing diverse voices, and offering the same opportunities to learn, grow, and contribute. In society, it shapes policies, education, and workplaces, guiding us to build communities where merit, effort, and human worth are the measure, not wealth, appearance, or origin. Ultimately, equality is both a mirror and a compass. It reflects the kind of society we are, while pointing toward the society we strive to be, one where compassion, fairness, and justice touch every life, leaving no one unseen or unheard. Liberty. Liberty is the ability to act, speak, and think freely without undue restraint. It is the feeling of breathing without chains, of making choices that reflect who we are at our core. Liberty is not just a word, it is the heartbeat of dignity, the quiet power that allows individuals to carve their own paths. At its essence, liberty is built on respect, responsibility, and fairness. It embraces the idea that each person has the right to pursue happiness, express beliefs, and live without fear of oppression. Yet, liberty is fragile. Societies wrestle with balancing personal freedoms against collective security. Challenges arise when power is misused, when laws stifle expression, or when inequality limits the opportunities for some while others enjoy full freedom. Understanding these tensions is key to appreciating what liberty truly means. In daily life, liberty shapes the way we interact, choose careers, speak our minds, and even love. It appears in the freedom to vote, to gather peacefully, or to decide one's path in education and work. Liberty is felt in small acts, the choice of a book, the decision to travel, the courage to speak up. Its presence nurtures creativity, growth, and human connection, while its absence breeds fear, silence, and stagnation. Ultimately, liberty is both a gift and a responsibility. It calls for vigilance, compassion, and courage. It is the quiet assurance that our voices matter, our choices count, and that within the bounds of respect, we are free to live fully, authentically, and boldly. Rights theory. Rights theory is the philosophical framework that asserts every individual possesses inherent entitlements simply by being human. It emphasizes that people have claims or freedoms that others, including governments, are morally and legally bound to respect. At its core, it is a celebration of human dignity and the recognition that each person matters. The central idea revolves around natural rights and legal rights. Natural rights are universal: life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, while legal rights are codified protections established by laws and institutions. These rights are interdependent, ensuring that one person's freedom does not infringe on another's. The theory also wrestles with challenges, such as balancing individual freedoms with societal needs, or resolving conflicts when rights appear to clash. Misinterpretations can lead to violations or neglect of rights, creating tension between moral ideals and practical realities. In everyday life, rights theory manifests in countless ways. Freedom of speech allows people to voice their beliefs, property rights protect personal possessions, and the right to education empowers growth. Society functions smoothly when these rights are acknowledged and upheld, fostering fairness, justice, and mutual respect. Awareness of rights encourages individuals to stand against oppression, champion equality, and build communities grounded in compassion. Ultimately, rights theory is more than a legal concept, it is a moral compass. It reminds us that the heartbeat of humanity lies in recognizing and defending the freedoms and dignity of every person, shaping a world where justice is not just an idea, but a lived reality. Feminist philosophy. Feminist philosophy is the study and reflection on the social, political, and moral conditions that shape women's lives and experiences. It is not just about women, but about understanding power, equality, and justice in ways that challenge ingrained biases and structural inequalities. At its heart, it asks, how do societal norms limit or define who we are, and how can we imagine a world where everyone has equal voice and opportunity? Central to feminist philosophy are ideas of gender equality, autonomy, and the critique of patriarchal structures. It examines how laws, traditions, and cultural expectations shape our understanding of identity and morality. Feminist thinkers argue that knowledge itself is not neutral, it is influenced by who has the power to define truth. This perspective challenges long-held assumptions, exposing biases in philosophy, science, and politics. Yet, it faces challenges: resistance from entrenched systems, cultural backlash, and the complexity of addressing intersectional issues like race, class, and sexuality alongside gender. In daily life, feminist philosophy invites us to question norms: who holds authority in our workplaces, homes, and communities. It pushes for fairness in relationships, equal opportunities in careers, and respect for diverse voices. On a societal level, it inspires policy changes, advocacy, and educational reforms that strive to dismantle discrimination and promote equity. It transforms not only thought but action, urging us to recognize injustice and act with empathy. Ultimately, feminist philosophy is a call to awareness, courage, and change. It asks us to see the world through lenses of justice and compassion, challenging us to create a society where every person's dignity is honored. Marxism. Marxism is a philosophy and social theory that seeks to understand society through the lens of class struggles and economic forces. At its heart, it examines how wealth, labor, and power shape human relationships and the organization of society. It is not just an abstract idea but a lens to see the inequalities and structures that govern daily life. The central concepts of Marxism revolve around the conflict between the working class and the ruling class, the idea that labor creates value, and the critique of capitalism as a system that exploits workers for profit. It emphasizes historical materialism, the belief that social change arises from economic conditions rather than mere ideas. Yet, these ideas are not without challenges. Implementing Marxist principles has often collided with human nature, political structures, and global economies, leading to debates about feasibility, fairness, and unintended consequences. In practical terms, Marxism influences how people think about fairness, wealth distribution, and social justice. It inspires movements for workers' rights, equitable wages, and universal access to education and healthcare. Even in daily life, it encourages questioning why some people hold immense power while others struggle, prompting individuals to advocate for systemic change and collective responsibility. Ultimately, Marxism invites reflection on the world we live in. It stirs a deep awareness of inequality, urging a thoughtful consideration of how society can be more just, humane, and inclusive. It is a mirror reflecting both the harsh realities of life and the potential for human solidarity and transformation. Capitalism. Capitalism is an economic and social system where private individuals or businesses own the means of production and operate for profit. At its heart lies the belief that personal initiative, competition, and market freedom drive innovation, efficiency, and growth. It is a system that encourages ambition, rewards ingenuity, and shapes how societies organize wealth, labor, and opportunity. The essence of capitalism is rooted in the idea that individuals are free to pursue their own economic interests, yet this freedom is intertwined with responsibilities and consequences. Competition fosters progress, pushing people and businesses to improve, adapt, and innovate. Profit is both a motivation and a measure of success, guiding decisions that influence industries, communities, and entire economies. However, this system also faces significant challenges. Inequality, exploitation, and the relentless pursuit of growth can lead to social tensions, environmental degradation, and moral dilemmas about fairness and human dignity. The balance between personal gain and societal well-being remains a constant philosophical debate. In daily life, capitalism is seen in the choices we make, what we buy, where we work, how we invest our time and resources. It influences the opportunities available to us, shaping lifestyles, aspirations, and the rhythm of communities. Markets respond to demand, innovation emerges from competition, and success stories inspire generations to dream bigger. Yet, every choice carries responsibility, reminding us that freedom in this system is inseparable from ethical consideration. Ultimately, capitalism is more than an economic model, it is a reflection of human ambition, resilience, and the endless tension between self-interest and collective good. It challenges us to consider not only what we gain but how our actions ripple through the lives of others. Anarchism. Anarchism is a political philosophy that envisions a world without hierarchical authority, where individuals govern themselves through voluntary cooperation and mutual aid. At its core, it is a call for freedom, not just freedom from governments, but freedom from all structures that constrain human potential and creativity. It challenges the notion that power should be concentrated in the hands of a few and emphasizes self-determination, equality, and community responsibility. Central to anarchism are principles like autonomy, direct action, and horizontal organization. It rejects imposed authority, advocating instead for systems where decisions are made collectively and consensually. It confronts challenges like the tension between individual liberty and collective order, the difficulty of sustaining large-scale cooperation without formal institutions, and societal resistance to relinquishing power. Yet, these obstacles illuminate the depth of anarchism's vision, a society where accountability arises from relationships, not regulations, and where people contribute out of choice, not compulsion. In practice, anarchism encourages everyday actions that nurture self-reliance and solidarity. Community gardens, worker cooperatives, decentralized networks, and grassroots activism exemplify how people can organize without top-down control. It teaches that empowerment is not theoretical, it is lived through mutual support, active engagement, and questioning structures that limit human potential. Anarchism invites a profound reflection on freedom, responsibility, and trust. It whispers that society need not be dominated by power and fear, but can flourish through cooperation, respect, and shared humanity, urging us to imagine, and begin living, a world that trusts the creativity and goodness of its people. Metaphysics. Metaphysics explores the nature of reality, asking the profound questions about existence, being, and the universe. It is the silent pulse behind everything we experience, urging us to look beyond what we see and touch. At its heart, metaphysics is curiosity incarnate. Why does anything exist at all, and what is the essence of what exists? It dives into concepts such as the nature of objects, the relationship between mind and matter, time, space, and causality. Philosophers ponder whether the world is purely physical or if a deeper, unseen reality shapes our lives. These ideas challenge us to question assumptions: what is real, what is illusion, and how do our perceptions shape truth? Yet, metaphysics also wrestles with limits. Some questions may never have concrete answers, leaving us in a space of awe and wonder. Despite its abstract nature, metaphysics resonates in daily life. Our sense of purpose, ethical choices, and understanding of existence are subtly informed by it. Reflecting on our place in the cosmos can inspire compassion, humility, and deeper connection with others. Even decisions about science, art, and technology are influenced by metaphysical beliefs about reality and causation. Ultimately, metaphysics invites us into a conversation with the universe itself. It encourages reflection, fuels imagination, and awakens a sense of mystery. In engaging with it, we confront the profound, the eternal, and the intimate fabric of our own being. Communitarianism. Communitarianism is the belief that individuals are deeply shaped by the communities they belong to and that the health of society depends on the strength of these communal bonds. Unlike approaches that prioritize personal freedom above all else, communitarianism emphasizes that our responsibilities to each other form the backbone of a thriving society. It is the idea that we are not isolated beings but participants in a shared social fabric, where mutual support, common values, and cooperation are essential. At its core, communitarianism values connection, solidarity, and social cohesion. It champions principles such as shared responsibility, civic engagement, and the importance of collective welfare. It challenges the notion that rights alone can create a just society, arguing instead that a balance between individual freedoms and social duties is necessary. Critics highlight that this focus on the community can sometimes suppress personal autonomy, but proponents see this tension as a call to cultivate empathy and active participation. In daily life, communitarianism manifests in acts of neighborly care, community volunteering, and public policies that strengthen local ties. Schools, neighborhoods, and civic organizations become spaces where people not only coexist but actively contribute to the common good. Decision-making shifts from purely personal gain to what sustains and nurtures the community. Reflecting on communitarianism invites us to reconsider our place in society. It stirs a sense of responsibility and belonging, reminding us that a society thrives not when individuals compete alone, but when they act together, lifting each other and weaving a resilient, compassionate world. Philosophy of mind. The philosophy of mind explores the nature of consciousness, thought, and the very essence of what it means to be aware. It asks profound questions. How does the mind arise from the brain? Can our thoughts exist independently of our bodies? It's the study of our inner world, the intangible experiences that shape who we are, yet are invisible to the eye. At its heart, this field examines the relationship between the physical and the mental. The mind is more than neurons firing, it is the seat of emotions, memories, and imagination. Philosophers debate whether consciousness can ever be fully explained by science, or whether something inherently mysterious remains. Central ideas include dualism, the notion that mind and body are separate, and physicalism, which suggests that mental states are entirely rooted in the physical brain. Yet, challenges persist. How can subjective experience, the feeling of being, emerge from matter? Can machines ever truly think or feel? Understanding the mind has real-world implications. It shapes how we approach mental health, artificial intelligence, and even personal relationships. Recognizing the depth and fragility of consciousness encourages empathy, introspection, and a greater awareness of our shared humanity. Each thought we have is a whisper of existence, a fleeting spark in the vast complexity of life, reminding us that the mind is both a mystery to explore and a mirror of our deepest selves. In contemplating the mind, we confront the wonder of our own consciousness, realizing that to study the mind is, in essence, to study what it means to be alive. Consciousness. Consciousness is the delicate awareness of our own thoughts, feelings, and surroundings, the silent observer that colors every experience. It is what allows a gentle breeze to evoke nostalgia, a melody to stir emotion, or a fleeting memory to resurface with startling clarity. It is not merely thinking, but the sensation of being alive, fully present, and responsive to the world and ourselves. At its core, consciousness bridges the inner and outer worlds. It embodies attention, perception, and reflection. Our senses feed it, our emotions shape it, and our thoughts define its boundaries. Yet, it remains elusive, resisting complete explanation. Philosophers and scientists alike grapple with questions: is it purely a product of the brain, or does it extend beyond neurons and synapses? How do subjective experiences arise from physical processes? These challenges highlight the fragile mystery of being aware, showing us how much of life operates beneath the surface of our understanding. In daily life, consciousness manifests in every decision and every interaction. It allows empathy when a friend shares a sorrow, creativity when an idea sparks unexpectedly, and mindfulness when we savor a quiet moment. Society thrives on conscious awareness, ethical choices, art, science, and meaningful relationships all depend on it. Cultivating attentiveness can transform ordinary experiences into moments of insight, connection, and profound appreciation. Consciousness is both a gift and a puzzle, a mirror reflecting our existence. By exploring its depths, we not only understand life more fully but also learn to live it with greater clarity, intention, and wonder. Personal identity. Personal identity is the sense of who we are, the unique combination of our thoughts, feelings, experiences, and choices that shapes our being. It is the quiet voice inside that tells us, "This is me," even when the world around us shifts and changes. Our identity is not just a name or a label, it is the living story we carry, evolving with every decision, every challenge, every connection we make. At its core, personal identity revolves around understanding oneself. It is built on beliefs, values, memories, and the roles we inhabit in life. The principles of self-awareness, authenticity, and continuity guide this understanding. Yet, it is not without struggle. Conflicts arise when society imposes expectations, when we question our purpose, or when our past collides with who we want to become. Balancing inner truth with external pressures is an ongoing challenge. In practical life, personal identity influences every action. It shapes relationships, career choices, and how we respond to the world. Recognizing our strengths and acknowledging our vulnerabilities allows us to navigate life with intention. Society benefits when individuals embrace their identity, fostering empathy, diversity, and genuine connection. Ultimately, personal identity is both fragile and resilient. It demands reflection, courage, and patience. It is the thread that ties our past to our present and our hopes to our future. In understanding ourselves, we unlock the freedom to live fully, speak honestly, and connect meaningfully, leaving an imprint of authenticity wherever we go. Mind-body problem. The mind-body problem explores one of the deepest questions humans have ever asked: how our thoughts, feelings, and consciousness relate to the physical body. It asks whether the mind is something separate from the brain or if it is simply the result of neurons firing. This inquiry is not just philosophical, it touches every moment of human experience, from feeling joy to facing pain, from making decisions to reflecting on our very existence. At its core, the mind-body problem revolves around understanding consciousness and its connection to the material world. Philosophers have long debated dualism, which suggests that mind and body are distinct, and physicalism, which argues that everything, including thoughts, arises from physical processes. This debate raises challenging questions. If the mind is separate, how can it interact with the body? If it is purely physical, how do subjective experiences emerge from mere matter? These questions highlight the limitations of our understanding and the profound mysteries of human existence. The implications ripple through everyday life. Medical practices, mental health treatments, and even artificial intelligence research confront the mind-body question. Understanding the relationship between mind and body can transform how we approach stress, emotion, and well-being, showing that caring for the brain also nurtures the self. It reminds us that our thoughts and bodies are intertwined, shaping every action, every sensation, every choice. Ultimately, the mind-body problem invites reflection on what it means to be human. It challenges us to consider our own consciousness not as a given, but as a remarkable phenomenon connecting the invisible world of thought with the tangible reality of life. Philosophy of language. Language is not merely a tool for communication, it is the very lens through which we perceive and shape reality. At its heart, the philosophy of language explores the intricate relationship between words, meaning, and human thought. It asks profound questions. How do words capture our experiences? Can language ever fully convey the depth of our inner worlds? These inquiries compel us to reflect on the power and limitations of expression. The core ideas revolve around meaning, reference, and truth. Words do not exist in isolation, their significance emerges from context, shared understanding, and the subtle dance between speaker and listener. Philosophers have debated how language mirrors reality and whether meanings are fixed or fluid. Challenges arise in miscommunication, ambiguity, and the ever-shifting nature of meaning, revealing the fragile bridge between thought and expression. The tension between what we intend to convey and how it is interpreted shapes not only personal interactions but also the very frameworks of knowledge and understanding. Practically, the philosophy of language influences education, law, literature, and digital communication. Awareness of linguistic nuance can transform dialogue, mediate conflicts, and enrich creativity. Recognizing that words carry power, both to heal and to harm, encourages conscious speech and empathetic listening in daily life. Ultimately, language is both mirror and mold of human experience. By examining its philosophy, we deepen our awareness of thought, connection, and identity. Every conversation becomes a reflection, every word a vessel, and every silence an invitation to understand more profoundly. Libertarianism. Libertarianism is a political philosophy that celebrates individual freedom above all else. At its core, it emphasizes the right of people to make choices about their own lives, free from unnecessary government interference. It's the belief that every person knows best how to live their life, and that personal liberty is the foundation of a just society. Imagine a world where your choices, financial, personal, or moral, are yours alone, respected and protected. The main ideas of libertarianism revolve around personal responsibility, voluntary cooperation, and minimal state intervention. It champions free markets, private property, and the freedom to engage in relationships, contracts, or business without heavy-handed regulations. Challenges arise when balancing individual liberty with collective safety. How much freedom can exist without risking harm to others? How do we protect society without infringing on personal rights? These questions fuel ongoing debates within libertarian thought. In daily life, libertarianism manifests in choices that prioritize autonomy, voting for limited government policies, advocating for free enterprise, or simply respecting others' personal decisions. Society benefits when citizens are empowered to make their own choices responsibly, fostering innovation, creativity, and a sense of accountability. The philosophy encourages questioning authority, weighing the consequences of laws, and embracing personal empowerment as a moral duty. Ultimately, libertarianism invites reflection. It challenges us to consider how much freedom we truly value and how we can live ethically while honoring the same freedom in others. It's a delicate dance between independence and responsibility, a thought-provoking call to live consciously, freely, and courageously. Philosophy of religion. Philosophy of religion explores the deep questions about existence, faith, and the divine. It seeks to understand why humans turn to belief, what God or ultimate reality means, and how faith interacts with reason. At its heart, it asks, can we know God? Does life have inherent purpose? And how do moral truths relate to a higher power? This study is not just abstract, it touches the soul, stirring curiosity, doubt, and awe. Central ideas revolve around understanding the nature of God, the problem of evil, and the relationship between faith and reason. Philosophers examine whether God is benevolent, omnipotent, or even knowable. They challenge human assumptions, questioning why suffering exists if a loving deity oversees the world and whether religious experience can be rationally justified. These debates are intense and personal, often forcing introspection about one's beliefs, ethics, and place in the universe. In daily life, philosophy of religion shapes choices, values, and communities. It encourages mindfulness about actions, compassion toward others, and honesty in facing existential uncertainties. People reflect on their own faith journeys, engage in dialogue with differing beliefs, and seek meaning beyond material success. Even in secular contexts, its questions spark ethical reflection and inspire deeper connections with the world and one another. Ultimately, philosophy of religion invites a lifelong exploration of wonder, doubt, and understanding. It challenges hearts and minds alike, urging us to contemplate not just what we believe, but why, and how those beliefs shape our lives and the world around us. The existence of God. The question of God's existence has echoed through human history, stirring hearts and minds alike. At its core, it is an inquiry into the unseen, a search for meaning beyond the tangible. People have sought evidence, stories, and experiences that point to a presence greater than themselves, something that transcends time, space, and human understanding. This pursuit is as old as humanity itself, whispered in sacred texts, pondered in quiet solitude, and debated in the halls of philosophy. Central to this exploration are ideas of faith, reason, and morality. Some see God in the intricate design of nature, the harmony of the universe, and the depth of human consciousness. Others rely on spiritual experience, intuition, or divine revelation. Yet, doubts persist. Questions arise: if God exists, why is there suffering? How can infinite goodness coexist with worldly chaos? These challenges compel us to wrestle with paradoxes, acknowledging both the yearning for belief and the weight of skepticism. The presence or absence of God shapes daily life. For believers, it offers comfort, purpose, and moral guidance, influencing decisions and fostering empathy. Even for skeptics, the contemplation itself can inspire awe at existence, prompting ethical reflection and deeper connections with others. The debate is not merely academic, it shapes the way people live, hope, and strive to leave a mark on the world. Ultimately, the search for God mirrors the search for meaning. It invites reflection, stirs emotion, and challenges every individual to confront the mysteries of existence with both humility and wonder. Problem of evil. Life often confronts us with moments of suffering and injustice that shake the very foundations of our understanding. The problem of evil arises when we question how a world created by a benevolent and all-powerful force can contain so much pain, cruelty, and suffering. It is the tension between the existence of an all-loving, omnipotent deity and the harsh realities we witness daily. At the heart of this dilemma lies the struggle to reconcile faith with experience. Philosophers and theologians have debated whether evil exists as a necessary counterpart to free will, a test of moral character, or as a result of human choice and natural causes. It challenges the comforting notion that life is inherently fair and exposes the raw vulnerability of human existence. Every act of violence, every moment of loss, and every injustice we encounter forces us to confront this profound question: why do bad things happen to good people? This tension is not merely theoretical, it seeps into everyday life, influencing how we respond to suffering in our communities, our empathy towards others, and our personal resilience. Understanding the problem of evil shapes moral choices, inspires acts of compassion, and compels us to seek justice even when the world seems indifferent. Ultimately, the problem of evil is a mirror reflecting the complexity of existence. It does not offer easy answers, but it invites reflection, challenges assumptions, and deepens our awareness of the fragility and preciousness of life. Faith versus reason. Faith is the quiet whisper in the heart that believes even without seeing, a light that guides through darkness when logic offers no path. Reason, on the other hand, is the steady hand of understanding, seeking proof, asking questions, and building knowledge brick by brick. The tension between them is not a battle but a dance, each pulling, each shaping the human experience in different ways. Faith rests on trust, devotion, and the unseen. It comforts, inspires, and offers hope in moments when answers seem impossible. Reason demands clarity, evidence, and logic. It challenges assumptions, reveals truths hidden beneath emotion, and guides decisions with precision. Yet, faith without reason can drift into blind acceptance, while reason without faith may become cold, leaving the soul unfulfilled. In everyday life, this balance shows itself in choices both trivial and monumental. A person may rely on faith to face illness with courage, yet reason to choose treatments wisely. Communities are bound by moral beliefs rooted in faith, while policies and innovations are shaped through reasoning. The fusion of both allows humanity to dream and achieve, to hope and plan. Ultimately, faith and reason are not enemies. They are companions walking a path where certainty is rare, and mystery abounds. When embraced together, they illuminate life in ways neither could alone, reason clarifying the path, faith lighting the way, guiding hearts and minds toward understanding, purpose, and profound resilience. Philosophy of Science. The philosophy of science is the exploration of how humans understand the world through observation, reasoning, and experimentation. It asks fundamental questions: how do we know what we know? What separates science from belief or opinion? At its core, it examines the nature of scientific knowledge, the methods used to acquire it, and the limits of human understanding. It is not just an academic pursuit but a lens through which we interpret reality and make sense of the patterns around us. Central to this field are ideas like empiricism, the reliance on evidence from observation, and falsifiability, the principle that scientific claims must be testable and potentially disprovable. It also considers the structure of theories, the logic of experiments, and the ethical boundaries of inquiry. Yet, it faces challenges: bias in observation, limitations of current methods, and the constant evolution of scientific knowledge can make certainty elusive. These challenges remind us that science is a human endeavor, beautiful in its rigor yet fragile in its dependence on perspective and context. The implications of these ideas extend far beyond laboratories. They shape medicine, technology, environmental policies, and even personal decision-making. By questioning how knowledge is constructed, society can foster critical thinking, encourage innovation, and temper the hubris of unquestioned belief. Everyday life benefits when people approach information thoughtfully, balancing skepticism with curiosity. Ultimately, the philosophy of science invites reflection, a deeper appreciation for discovery, and a commitment to seeking truth with humility and wonder. Scientific realism. Scientific realism is the belief that the world described by science is real and exists independently of our perceptions. It is the conviction that the entities, structures, and processes uncovered by scientific inquiry, like atoms, electrons, or black holes, are not just convenient fictions but genuinely exist. This perspective encourages us to trust the methods and discoveries of science as a window into the truth of the universe. At its heart, scientific realism rests on the idea that scientific theories aim to describe the world as it truly is, not merely to predict phenomena. The main principle is that success in science, accurate predictions, technological breakthroughs, and unifying explanations, suggests that our theories correspond to reality. Yet, challenges arise. Critics argue that many past scientific theories, once believed true, were later discarded, hinting that our understanding may always be provisional. There is also the question of unobservable entities. Can we claim knowledge of things we cannot see, touch, or measure directly? The impact of scientific realism extends into everyday life. Trusting that scientific discoveries reflect reality allows societies to innovate, from medicine to technology, improving quality of life. It shapes how we interpret the natural world, influencing education, policy, and even our ethical responsibilities toward the environment. Recognizing science as a path toward truth inspires curiosity, wonder, and a profound respect for the universe's complexity. In the end, scientific realism invites reflection. Our journey to know the world is both a triumph and a humbling reminder of the limits of human understanding. It challenges us to see beyond appearances, nurturing a thoughtful, informed, and deeply connected view of reality. Falsifiability. Falsifiability is the idea that for a claim or theory to be considered scientific, it must be possible to prove it wrong. It is the bridge between belief and evidence, the line that separates genuine inquiry from mere speculation. When we say a statement is falsifiable, we mean there is some test, some observation, that could show it to be false. This is not about proving something true once and for all, but about opening the door to doubt, scrutiny, and growth. At its core, falsifiability asks us to confront the possibility of being wrong. It insists that no theory is sacred, that every assumption is provisional, and that progress in understanding depends on our willingness to challenge what we hold dear. Yet, it is not without its struggles. Some ideas are seductive but stubbornly resistant to testing, leaving them in the shadow of uncertainty. Others seem falsifiable but collapse under ambiguous evidence, reminding us that the act of testing is as delicate as it is vital. In everyday life, falsifiability shapes how we make choices, how we trust information, and how we navigate a world overflowing with claims. From questioning the reliability of a news article to evaluating health advice or financial forecasts, the principle encourages curiosity and vigilance. It teaches us humility. The truth is never given, only pursued through careful observation and critical thought. Embracing falsifiability transforms doubt from fear into a compass, guiding us toward clarity and understanding. Ethics of technology. Technology has become the heartbeat of modern life, shaping the way we connect, work, and even think. But as it grows, questions arise. Just because we can do something, should we? Ethics in technology asks us to pause and reflect on the human impact of every innovation we create. At its core, technology ethics revolves around responsibility, fairness, and respect for life. It challenges us to consider privacy in a world where data flows endlessly, to weigh the consequences of artificial intelligence making decisions, and to confront the biases hidden in algorithms that affect millions. Each breakthrough comes with dilemmas. What is convenient may not always be right, and what is profitable may not always be just. Navigating these challenges requires more than knowledge, it demands moral awareness and courage. The implications touch every corner of our daily lives. Smart devices track our habits, AI predicts our choices, and digital platforms influence opinions and behaviors. Ethical technology ensures these tools serve humanity rather than control it, promoting transparency, accountability, and human dignity. It calls for careful design, thoughtful policies, and the willingness to question the allure of unchecked progress. In the end, technology is not just about machines, it is a mirror reflecting our values. By approaching it thoughtfully, we hold the power to create a future where innovation enhances humanity, not diminishes it. Ethics is the compass guiding that journey, urging us to choose with care, conscience, and compassion. Artificial intelligence ethics. Artificial intelligence ethics is the study of how humans should create and use AI responsibly. It examines the moral questions arising when machines make decisions that affect people's lives. As AI becomes smarter, the need to guide its actions with care grows stronger. Every algorithm, every automated decision, has the power to shape our future, making ethics more than a theoretical idea. It becomes a responsibility. At the heart of AI ethics are fairness, transparency, accountability, and privacy. Fairness asks whether AI treats everyone equally or perpetuates bias. Transparency ensures we understand how decisions are made. Accountability reminds us that humans, not machines, must answer for mistakes. Privacy protects individuals from intrusive surveillance or misuse of personal data. Yet, challenges persist. AI can inherit human biases, operate beyond comprehension, or make choices that conflict with moral values. These dilemmas push us to reflect on what it means to trust intelligence that is not human. In everyday life, AI ethics shapes the tools we interact with: recommendation systems, autonomous vehicles, medical diagnostics, or virtual assistants. Decisions powered by AI can save lives, streamline work, or enrich experiences, but they can also harm if guided by flawed judgments. Ethical thinking ensures AI amplifies the good in society without deepening inequalities or compromising safety. Ultimately, AI ethics calls us to pause, question, and act thoughtfully. It reminds us that behind every line of code, every decision a machine makes, lies a human choice. The future of technology is inseparable from the conscience we embed within it. Bioethics. Bioethics is the careful reflection on the moral and ethical dilemmas that arise in medicine, biology, and healthcare. It asks the difficult questions about life, death, and human dignity, urging us to consider not only what we can do but what we should do. It challenges us to confront the consequences of modern science on real human lives, stirring both caution and hope. At its heart, bioethics revolves around principles like respect for autonomy, ensuring individuals can make informed choices about their own bodies, beneficence, the commitment to act in the best interest of others, non-maleficence, the pledge to avoid harm, and justice, the call for fairness in distributing healthcare resources. Yet, these ideas are tested daily, whether through debates on genetic editing, end-of-life care, organ donation, or experimental treatments. Conflicts arise when values clash, such as balancing a patient's right to choose with societal responsibility or when cutting-edge technologies outpace moral reflection. In practice, bioethics shapes decisions in hospitals, research labs, and public health policies. It guides doctors in sensitive conversations, informs consent procedures, and influences laws regulating life-altering technologies. Even as individuals, our choices, vaccinations, participation in clinical trials, or caregiving, echo bioethical considerations, connecting personal responsibility to broader societal impact. Ultimately, bioethics invites us to pause, reflect, and act with compassion. It is a mirror, showing the depth of our humanity while illuminating the moral paths we navigate in an age where science and ethics are intertwined more than ever. Environmental ethics. Our relationship with nature is more than just coexistence, it is a moral responsibility. Environmental ethics asks us to pause and consider how our actions affect the world around us, from the tiniest insect to the vast oceans. It challenges us to look beyond human needs and recognize the intrinsic value of all living beings. Every choice we make, from the food we eat to the energy we consume, carries weight in this delicate balance. At its heart, environmental ethics is guided by principles like respect for nature, sustainability, and justice for future generations. It calls for mindful living, where consumption is tempered by awareness, and convenience does not outweigh the health of our planet. Yet, this path is not without challenges. Industrial growth, consumer culture, and short-term gains often conflict with long-term environmental responsibility, creating a tension between progress and preservation. The impact of embracing these principles is profound. Simple actions, recycling, conserving water, supporting renewable energy, planting trees, become acts of care for the world. Societies that integrate these values into policy and education nurture a collective consciousness that prioritizes harmony with the environment. The ripple effect is immense, shaping communities, economies, and ecosystems toward resilience and respect. Reflecting on our place in the natural world reveals both vulnerability and power. Each individual choice echoes in rivers, forests, and skies. Environmental ethics is not merely philosophy, it is a call to action, a compassionate reminder that caring for Earth is inseparable from caring for ourselves and generations yet to come. Animal rights. Animals share this planet with us, yet their voices are often silenced. They feel pain, joy, and fear, just like humans. Recognizing their right to live free from harm is more than compassion, it is justice. Every creature, from the tiniest insect to the largest mammal, deserves respect, care, and protection. At the heart of animal rights is the idea that no being should suffer for convenience, entertainment, or profit. Factory farming, animal testing, and poaching are constant reminders of the cruelty we inflict. Animals cannot speak for themselves, and that silence calls upon us to act. Protecting them means acknowledging their intrinsic value and challenging practices that exploit them. The struggle is real, but so is our power to make change. In practical terms, respecting animals begins in our daily choices. Choosing cruelty-free products, supporting wildlife conservation, adopting pets instead of buying them, and spreading awareness can transform lives. Society also bears responsibility. Laws against abuse, stricter regulations on industries, and promoting empathy in education cultivate a culture where animals are treated as sentient beings rather than objects. Ultimately, animal rights compel us to look inward and question our habits. They remind us that kindness is not a weakness, but a measure of humanity. In protecting those who cannot protect themselves, we not only honor their existence but also elevate our own conscience, creating a world where empathy and respect shape every interaction. Philosophy of education. Education is more than lessons in a classroom, it is the shaping of minds, the stirring of curiosity, and the nurturing of character. It asks not just what we learn, but why we learn, and how knowledge transforms the way we see the world. It is a journey where each question leads to another, and every discovery uncovers a deeper understanding of ourselves and society. At its heart, education is guided by principles of critical thinking, moral development, and lifelong inquiry. It challenges us to confront biases, to question inherited norms, and to embrace the unknown with courage. Yet, it is not without struggle. Societal inequalities, rigid curricula, and the tension between knowledge and wisdom test our ideals. The philosophy of education urges us to navigate these challenges thoughtfully, seeking balance between intellectual growth and emotional understanding, between discipline and creativity. The impact of these ideas reaches far beyond classrooms. It shapes how we communicate, how communities progress, and how individuals find purpose. By applying reflective learning, empathy, and ethical reasoning, we create a society where knowledge empowers action and education ignites meaningful change. Every discussion, every lesson, every moment of reflection becomes an opportunity to mold not only minds but hearts. Ultimately, education is a mirror and a lamp. It reflects who we are and illuminates what we might become, reminding us that learning is not a task, but a lifelong dialogue with life itself. Philosophy of Law. The philosophy of law asks us to pause and reflect on the nature of justice, the meaning of rights, and the purpose of rules that shape human life. It is the mirror through which society examines its own moral compass. At its heart, it questions not just what the law is, but what the law should be, blending reason with conscience. Central to this exploration are ideas of justice, fairness, and the delicate balance between freedom and authority. The law is not merely a collection of rules, it is a living dialogue between individual responsibility and collective order. Yet, this terrain is riddled with challenges, contradictions between law and morality, debates over human rights, and the tension between universal principles and cultural context. Every rule carries the weight of interpretation, leaving room for ambiguity and reflection. The influence of these ideas extends beyond courtrooms. They shape our interactions, guide ethical decisions, and inform policies that touch education, healthcare, and governance. Daily life is subtly molded by these principles, whether we contest an unfair decision, uphold personal integrity, or navigate societal expectations. The philosophy of law urges us to engage thoughtfully, to question blindly accepted norms, and to envision a society where law resonates with justice and empathy. Ultimately, it is a journey of consciousness, a call to recognize that law is not only about compliance but about cultivating fairness, protecting dignity, and nurturing the moral fabric that binds humanity together. Natural law. From the earliest whispers of human thought, there has been an unspoken understanding that certain truths govern the way we live, guiding right from wrong beyond what humans write in laws or codes. Natural law is this invisible compass, rooted in the very fabric of human nature. It suggests that morality is not invented but discovered, that our sense of justice, fairness, and duty springs from something larger than ourselves. At its heart, natural law revolves around ideas that feel familiar yet profound. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of goodness are not merely political slogans, they reflect universal principles. We are called to act in ways that respect the dignity of each person, to pursue virtue, and to recognize that our choices carry weight far beyond ourselves. Yet, challenges arise when societies clash over interpretations, when personal desires conflict with universal principles, or when laws written by humans seem to diverge from what feels inherently right. Despite these challenges, the influence of natural law seeps into daily life. It surfaces in our compassion for strangers, our fight against injustice, and our instinct to protect the vulnerable. Even in quiet moments of reflection, it shapes our conscience, nudging us toward fairness, truth, and empathy. Ultimately, natural law is more than theory, it is a mirror, reflecting who we are and who we might become. It whispers that morality is not optional, that some things are sacred, and that our choices ripple through time, leaving marks on the world we share. Legal positivism. Legal positivism is a theory that emphasizes the law as it is, rather than as it ought to be. It focuses on written rules and statutes created by legitimate authorities, rather than moral or ethical considerations. It insists that the validity of law is grounded in its source, not in its content, making law a human-made construct that must be followed regardless of personal beliefs. At its core, Legal positivism rests on the idea that law is separate from morality. Rules are recognized because they are enacted by the proper authority and enforced through recognized procedures. This perspective brings clarity and order, ensuring predictable outcomes. Yet, it faces challenges, especially when rigid laws clash with justice or ethical imperatives. Critics argue that it can justify morally questionable acts if they follow legal procedures, leaving no room for conscience or equity to temper legal strictness. In daily life, legal positivism manifests through adherence to traffic laws, taxation, contractual obligations, and regulatory compliance. Society functions smoothly when individuals accept that laws are binding because they are enacted, not because they feel right. Courts, governments, and institutions rely on this framework to maintain consistency and fairness in administration, even in morally complex situations. Reflecting on legal positivism evokes a delicate balance between obedience and ethics. It reminds us that laws structure society, yet they are not infallible. Understanding this theory invites a deeper conversation about our duty to follow rules while remaining vigilant about justice, fairness, and the human spirit that laws alone cannot capture. Philosophy of history. History is not merely a collection of dates and events, it is the story of humanity trying to understand itself through time. It examines why civilizations rise and fall, why human actions repeat patterns, and what lessons can be drawn from the past. Philosophy of history seeks meaning in the flow of events, questioning whether life follows purpose or randomness, and whether progress is inevitable or illusory. At its core, it explores ideas of causation, morality, and inevitability. It asks whether history is driven by great individuals, collective societies, or unseen forces shaping destiny. Some argue that understanding patterns helps predict the future, while others warn that the human experience is too complex for simple generalizations. Challenges arise in balancing objectivity with interpretation, as personal, cultural, or political lenses color how history is understood. The tension between facts and meaning makes history a living dialogue between the past and present. Its practical influence seeps into daily life. Societies learn from past mistakes, shape laws, and craft education to cultivate wisdom. Individuals reflect on the consequences of choices, seeing themselves as part of a continuum. Awareness of historical forces encourages empathy, responsibility, and mindfulness of the fleeting yet impactful nature of human action. It reminds us that our lives are threads in a larger tapestry, carrying both weight and possibility. In the end, philosophy of history invites reflection, urging us to look beyond mere chronology. It teaches that every story, every decision, echoes across time, and that understanding the past is not just an intellectual pursuit, but a guide to living meaningfully in the present. Philosophy of time. Time is the silent rhythm that governs our existence, the invisible thread weaving moments together. It is not merely hours and minutes, but the very pulse of life, the stage on which our experiences unfold. Time shapes memory, molds decisions, and frames the fleeting beauty of each day. It is a companion that never rests, yet it often escapes our grasp. At its core, time challenges our perception of reality. Is it a river flowing steadily forward, carrying us along, or a tapestry where past, present, and future coexist? Some argue that moments are permanent in memory, others insist only the present is tangible. The tension between inevitability and choice, permanence and impermanence, underlines every human endeavor. Time exposes limits, yet invites reflection, forcing us to confront change, loss, and the hope that lies ahead. In daily life, awareness of time transforms behavior. It encourages mindfulness in conversations, urgency in goals, and reverence for fleeting moments. Societies organize around schedules, calendars, and histories, shaping culture and progress. Time teaches patience, accountability, and the delicate art of living fully, reminding us that every second holds potential for growth, connection, and wonder. Ultimately, time is both a mystery and a guide. It elicits awe, fear, and gratitude simultaneously, urging reflection on what truly matters. By observing its flow, we learn to navigate existence with both humility and intention, cherishing the present while embracing the journey ahead. Philosophy of space. Space surrounds us yet escapes our grasp. It is more than empty air or distant stars, it is the silent stage on which life unfolds, shaping how we move, live, and imagine. Space is both tangible, the rooms we inhabit, the streets we traverse, and intangible, the expanses that stir our dreams. It defines boundaries, yet invites freedom, a paradox that calls for reflection. At its core, space challenges our understanding of existence. It is not merely physical, it carries meaning, emotion, and perception. Architects and urban planners know this as they manipulate form and distance, while philosophers probe its influence on thought and being. Space demands attention to presence and absence, the tension between what is and what could be. Its principles are simple yet profound. Proximity alters experience, openness invites possibility, confinement shapes behavior. But grappling with space also confronts us with questions: how much does environment influence identity? Can we truly possess or understand space? These challenges linger, subtle but persistent. In everyday life, the philosophy of space shapes comfort, creativity, and interaction. A crowded room can ignite stress, a quiet corner can inspire insight. Cities, homes, and even digital spaces reflect our values and priorities. Recognizing how we inhabit space transforms how we relate to each other and to ourselves, offering a path to mindfulness, empathy, and intentional living. Space is silent yet expressive, empty yet profound. It is a mirror of our existence, a canvas of our emotions, and a stage for every human story. Reflecting on it invites wonder, care, and a deeper awareness of life's unfolding. Causality. Causality is the invisible thread that links actions and outcomes, the rhythm behind every change we witness. It is the reason why the morning sun warms the earth, why a single decision can ripple across a lifetime, and why tiny choices often carry monumental consequences. At its core, causality is about understanding how one event brings forth another, tracing the path from cause to effect with clarity and precision. Every phenomenon we encounter carries underlying principles. Causes precede effects, patterns repeat themselves, and seemingly random incidents often hide deeper connections. Yet, grasping causality is rarely simple. Life's intricate web of variables can make the true cause elusive, and assumptions may deceive even the keenest minds. Uncertainty and complexity challenge us, urging humility as we navigate the world's interwoven events. Its relevance touches every corner of life. From the way we nurture relationships, shape our habits, and make decisions, to the design of policies and scientific experiments, causality guides understanding and action. Recognizing the link between actions and outcomes empowers us to learn, predict, and respond wisely, shaping not just our own futures but the collective journey of society. Reflecting on causality stirs a sense of responsibility and awe. Every gesture, thought, and choice is part of an endless chain. By observing and respecting this delicate chain, we gain insight, wisdom, and a profound connection to the intricate dance of cause and effect that defines existence. Truth. From the first light of consciousness, humans have sought to understand what is real, what is certain, and what reflects the world as it is. Truth is the mirror that shows things without disguise, untouched by fear, desire, or illusion. It is not merely facts on a page, but the clarity in a friend's gaze, the honesty in a whispered confession, the quiet recognition of reality when no one is watching. At its core, truth demands courage. It asks us to face what we often wish to ignore, to speak what we sometimes fear to say. Yet, it is fragile. Lies, half-truths, and deception creep in, creating shadows that blur perception and trust. The challenge lies not only in discovering truth but in accepting it, especially when it unsettles our comfort, our pride, or our expectations. In life, truth becomes a compass. It guides decisions, nurtures relationships, and builds societies where justice and understanding can flourish. When we act in alignment with truth, actions carry weight, words gain meaning, and connections deepen. Conversely, ignoring it leaves confusion in its wake, eroding bonds and blinding us to consequences we cannot avoid. Truth is a quiet force, patient yet persistent. It calls for reflection, honesty, and integrity. To live with truth is not a fleeting choice but a continuous journey, one that challenges, humbles, and ultimately illuminates the human experience. Knowledge. Knowledge is the light that guides us through the unknown. It is not merely information stored in books or memorized facts, it is the understanding that shapes how we perceive the world and make decisions. From the first steps a child takes in learning to speak, to the intricate discoveries of science, knowledge is the thread connecting curiosity to wisdom. At its core, knowledge grows through experience and reflection. It thrives on questions, challenges, and the courage to confront what we do not yet understand. Yet, it is fragile. Misconceptions, bias, and misinformation can cloud its clarity. The journey to true understanding is rarely straightforward. It demands patience, humility, and a willingness to revise what we think we know. In daily life, knowledge manifests in countless ways. It is the skill that allows a chef to perfect a recipe, the insight that helps a doctor save a life, the empathy that enables a teacher to reach a struggling student. Society itself is built on the cumulative knowledge of generations, turning lessons learned into progress, invention, and culture. Each act of learning enriches not only the individual but the world around them. In the end, knowledge is more than power, it is the heartbeat of human connection. It challenges us, shapes us, and invites us to see beyond ourselves. To seek knowledge is to embrace growth, to honor curiosity, and to participate in the endless story of discovery. Belief. Belief is the quiet force that shapes how we see the world and ourselves. It is the conviction in something unseen yet deeply felt, a compass guiding decisions, actions, and dreams. From the moment we open our eyes, beliefs quietly whisper what is possible and what is not, coloring every thought with a shade of certainty or doubt. At its heart, belief is built on trust, experience, and hope. Some beliefs are inherited, passed down through generations, while others are forged in the fires of personal experience. Yet, holding a belief is never without struggle. Doubt often creeps in, testing our resolve, asking us to question what we hold dear. Fear, uncertainty, and opposing views challenge the firmness of our convictions, reminding us that belief is both fragile and resilient, a delicate balance between certainty and curiosity. In everyday life, belief drives us to pursue goals, foster connections, and endure hardships. It motivates acts of kindness, fuels creativity, and strengthens the courage to face adversity. Societies thrive on shared beliefs, creating culture, law, and collective purpose. On a personal level, belief provides solace in moments of despair, hope in times of uncertainty, and a sense of meaning in the ordinary. Ultimately, belief is the thread weaving our inner world with the outer reality. It shapes identity, molds choices, and whispers to us that even in darkness, something greater exists. To understand belief is to understand the human heart, its longings, its fears, and its limitless capacity to hope. Reason. From the moment we wake up, reason quietly guides our thoughts, our choices, and the world around us. It is the gentle voice that asks us to pause before we act, to question before we believe, and to seek clarity in the chaos of life. Reason is not just logic or cold calculation, it is the bridge between instinct and understanding, the tool that allows us to weigh consequences and envision possibilities. At its core, reason relies on observation, reflection, and connection. It thrives on questioning assumptions and testing beliefs. Yet, it is not without challenges. Emotions, biases, and external pressures often cloud our judgment, tempting us to act impulsively. Recognizing these obstacles is part of nurturing reason, learning to balance thought with feeling, and embracing the discipline it demands. In daily life, reason is our constant companion. It helps us resolve conflicts, make informed choices, and understand the perspectives of others. In society, it shapes laws, fuels innovation, and guides ethical decisions. From a simple conversation to momentous decisions, reason reminds us to act with care and foresight, turning confusion into understanding, and impulse into intention. Ultimately, reason is the quiet force that gives depth to our existence. It calls us to look beyond immediate desires, to find truth amidst uncertainty, and to navigate life with both wisdom and compassion. In honoring reason, we honor the very essence of being human. Wisdom. Wisdom is the quiet understanding that life's experiences teach us lessons beyond knowledge alone. It is more than knowing facts, it is seeing the deeper patterns, making thoughtful choices, and sensing the consequences of our actions before they unfold. It is patience in a world that rushes, and clarity in moments of confusion. At its core, wisdom thrives on reflection, empathy, and discernment. It encourages us to listen before speaking, to seek perspective before judging, and to weigh actions against values rather than impulse. Yet, challenges accompany it. In a society that prizes speed and instant results, wisdom often feels slow, even inconvenient. It can be misunderstood as passivity, or undervalued in the face of louder, more forceful opinions. True wisdom requires humility, the recognition that no matter how much we know, there is always more to understand. Its presence in daily life transforms ordinary moments. A wise word can soothe conflict, a thoughtful decision can avert disaster, and an empathetic act can strengthen bonds. Communities flourish when people act with foresight and compassion. Even small choices, when guided by wisdom, ripple outward, shaping environments, relationships, and futures. Ultimately, wisdom is both a compass and a light. It does not promise a life free of error, but it guides us through mistakes with grace. It invites us to pause, to reflect, and to act with purpose, turning ordinary living into something meaningful, enduring, and profoundly human. Happiness. Happiness is a feeling that lights up our hearts, a warm sense of contentment that makes ordinary moments shine. It is not a destination but a collection of tiny experiences, a shared laugh with a friend, the calm after a long walk, the satisfaction of a goal achieved. Happiness is personal, what brings joy to one may be invisible to another. Yet, its presence can transform the way we see the world, turning mundane routines into cherished memories. At its core, happiness thrives on connection, gratitude, and purpose. It grows when we nurture relationships, celebrate small wins, and embrace life's imperfections. Challenges arise when we chase fleeting pleasures or measure our worth against others. The pressures of modern life, stress, comparison, and uncertainty, often cloud our sense of joy, reminding us that happiness requires mindfulness and care, not mere luck. In daily life, happiness manifests in simple acts, savoring a meal, helping someone in need, or pausing to notice a sunset. In society, collective happiness strengthens bonds, inspires creativity, and fosters empathy. Even small gestures of kindness ripple outward, creating environments where joy becomes contagious. Happiness, then, is both intimate and communal, a force that can reshape days, relationships, and communities. Ultimately, happiness is a quiet teacher, asking us to slow down, appreciate, and connect. It is less about grand achievements and more about the tender, fleeting moments that make life feel alive, meaningful, and profoundly worth living. Suffering. Suffering is the deep ache that touches every human life, the silent companion that arrives unannounced. It is not always physical, often it is the weight of loss, betrayal, or unfulfilled dreams. It is the quiet night spent wrestling with fear, the heartache that refuses to fade, the mind restless with worry. Everyone experiences it differently, yet its presence is universal, connecting souls through shared fragility. At its core, suffering teaches harsh lessons. It exposes vulnerability, tests resilience, and challenges patience. Pain often arrives without reason, and its intensity can feel unbearable, yet it also invites introspection and growth. The principle of impermanence whispers that no suffering lasts forever, even when hope feels distant. Society often misunderstands suffering, seeing it as weakness rather than a testament to endurance. Its challenges lie in its unpredictability, its ability to disrupt lives and reshape perspectives, leaving scars that tell stories of survival. In daily life, suffering molds empathy, urging acts of kindness and understanding. It inspires art, literature, and music, transforming personal grief into collective reflection. Communities form around shared hardship, support becomes a lifeline, and resilience is quietly nurtured. Even simple gestures, listening, holding a hand, offering comfort, become profound when suffering knocks at the door. Ultimately, suffering is a shadow and a teacher, unavoidable yet transformative. It strips away illusions, confronts us with reality, and leaves behind a nuanced understanding of life's fragile beauty. Through it, the human spirit discovers depth, courage, and a quiet, enduring hope. Death. Death is the final chapter of every life, an inevitable passage that marks the end of our physical journey. It is not just a biological event but a deeply personal and universal experience that touches every soul. We all encounter it, whether through the loss of loved ones or by contemplating our own mortality. It brings a quiet stillness, a pause that makes us reflect on what truly matters. At its core, death carries principles of impermanence and transformation. Life is fragile, fleeting, and unpredictable. We face challenges in accepting death, fear, grief, and uncertainty cloud our minds. The struggle to find meaning in its presence tests our resilience. Some seek comfort in rituals, memories, or beliefs, attempting to understand or soften its impact. Others confront it through denial, yet it arrives all the same, reminding us of life's preciousness. In practical terms, death shapes the way we live. It encourages us to cherish moments with family and friends, to express love before it is too late. Communities build traditions to honor those who have passed, finding collective solace in remembrance. It also influences ethical decisions, healthcare, and cultural practices, reminding us of responsibility, empathy, and compassion in the fleeting time we share. Ultimately, death is both an ending and a mirror, reflecting life in its purest form. It urges us to live with awareness, kindness, and gratitude, leaving behind echoes of love, stories, and legacies that transcend the silence of its arrival. Immortality. Imagine a life where time no longer holds power over you, where years stretch endlessly, and the inevitability of death fades into a distant thought. Immortality is not just living forever, it is the dream of escaping the finality that defines human existence. For centuries, poets, scientists, and philosophers have pondered its allure and its cost. The idea of immortality brings forth astonishing possibilities. Knowledge could accumulate boundlessly, wisdom refined over centuries, and relationships could span generations. Yet, alongside these promises lie profound challenges. A world without death could breed endless loneliness as friends and loved ones fade at unpredictable moments. The mind, unprepared for ceaseless existence, might wrestle with boredom, despair, or detachment. Ethics become murky, resources, equality, the very rhythm of life, all disrupted by endless human presence. In practical terms, glimpses of immortality appear in medicine, technology, and genetics. Scientists pursue anti-aging treatments and digital consciousness. Societies wrestle with extending life while maintaining meaning, purpose, and balance. Immortality, even in fragments, forces us to rethink what it means to live fully today. Ultimately, the pursuit of immortality is both a reflection of our deepest fears and our greatest hopes. It challenges us to consider not just how long we live, but how profoundly we experience every heartbeat. Perhaps the truest immortality lies not in endless years, but in the echoes of the life we touch, the love we share, and the legacy we leave behind. Logic. Logic is the art of clear thinking. It is the framework that allows us to reason through problems, to distinguish between what makes sense and what does not, and to approach decisions with confidence. At its core, logic is about cause and effect, about understanding how ideas connect and lead to conclusions. It is not simply memorizing rules but learning to see patterns, contradictions, and possibilities. The main principles of logic involve clarity, consistency, and sound reasoning. We learn to identify valid arguments, spot errors in thinking, and avoid being misled by assumptions. Yet, challenges arise when emotions, biases, or incomplete information cloud judgment. Even the most intelligent minds can fall into traps of flawed reasoning, making logic both a guide and a discipline that requires constant practice. In daily life, logic shapes our choices more than we realize. From planning our schedules efficiently, solving practical problems, or evaluating news and information, it helps us navigate complexity. In society, logical thinking supports fair debate, ethical decision-making, and technological advancement. Without it, decisions are impulsive, arguments are shallow, and progress slows. Logic teaches patience and mindfulness, urging us to pause before reacting, to question before accepting, and to build understanding before acting. It nurtures clarity in thought, depth in conversation, and confidence in action. In embracing logic, we do more than reason, we honor the power of the human mind to seek truth, navigate uncertainty, and create meaning in a world filled with noise. Epistemology. Epistemology is the exploration of how we know what we know. It examines the very foundation of knowledge, questioning the sources, limits, and reliability of our understanding. At its heart, it asks us to reflect on the certainty of our beliefs and the paths we take to claim truth. Central to this inquiry are ideas of justification, truth, and belief. We constantly balance evidence against doubt, experience against assumption, and perception against reality. Challenges arise because our senses can deceive, memories can fade, and reasoning can be flawed. We struggle with distinguishing between opinion and knowledge, intuition and evidence, certainty and possibility. This tension is both unsettling and exhilarating, prompting a lifelong curiosity about the world and our place within it. In everyday life, epistemology quietly shapes our decisions, conversations, and judgments. When we decide whom to trust, how to interpret news, or what actions to take, we are relying on principles of knowledge. Society, too, leans on these foundations, in law, science, and education, where evidence, reasoning, and critical thinking determine outcomes that affect millions. Recognizing the fragility and strength of knowledge encourages humility and careful reflection in our choices. Ultimately, exploring epistemology is a journey into the mind and the world. It invites us to question boldly, think deeply, and embrace uncertainty, transforming simple curiosity into a profound awareness of life's complexities and the delicate threads that connect truth, belief, and understanding. Hindu philosophy. Hindu philosophy is a timeless exploration of existence, consciousness, and the universe, inviting each seeker to understand life beyond the surface. It is not just a set of teachings but a living tradition that weaves thought, devotion, and practice into daily experience. From the sacred Vedas to the profound Upanishads, it offers a path to self-realization and inner harmony, urging humans to look inward for truth rather than outside. At its core, Hindu philosophy revolves around the eternal principles of dharma, karma, and moksha. Dharma guides ethical living, shaping actions in alignment with cosmic order. Karma teaches that every action resonates, affecting not only the individual but the world around them. Moksha, the ultimate liberation, inspires a journey beyond desire, fear, and suffering. Yet, embracing these principles can be challenging. The mind's attachments, societal pressures, and illusions of material success often obscure understanding, making the pursuit of true wisdom both demanding and deeply rewarding. The impact of these teachings extends into daily life, offering practical guidance. Mindful action, compassion for others, and self-reflection cultivate a sense of peace and purpose. Rituals, meditation, and storytelling serve as reminders to live with awareness and integrity, encouraging balance amidst chaos. Communities thrive when these ideas guide interactions, promoting harmony and resilience. In essence, Hindu philosophy is a mirror to the soul, a gentle yet profound invitation to live with meaning, love, and understanding, nurturing both inner tranquility and collective well-being. Confucianism. Confucianism is an ancient philosophical and ethical system rooted in the teachings of Confucius, a Chinese thinker whose ideas continue to shape moral thought and social values. It emphasizes harmony in human relationships, the cultivation of virtue, and the pursuit of a balanced, respectful life. At its heart, Confucianism asks us to reflect on how we live with others and the responsibilities we carry in our families, communities, and society at large. The core of Confucian thought revolves around principles like ren, the quality of compassion and humaneness, li, the proper conduct and rituals that guide respectful behavior, and shao, or filial piety, honoring one's parents and ancestors. These principles encourage individuals to act with integrity, humility, and empathy. Yet, the philosophy also faces challenges in modern times, balancing strict adherence to tradition with the demands of contemporary life, navigating social hierarchies, and reconciling personal freedom with collective responsibility. Confucian ideals extend beyond abstract reflection into daily life. They influence education, governance, family interactions, and community relationships. Practicing mindfulness in speech, thought, and action, showing respect to elders, and striving for moral excellence are ways these teachings manifest in society, fostering trust, cooperation, and social cohesion. Ultimately, Confucianism invites us to pause and consider the moral texture of our lives. It reminds us that the essence of a good society begins with the refinement of the individual spirit, cultivating kindness, respect, and ethical awareness in every interaction. Taoism. Taoism is an ancient philosophy and spiritual tradition originating in China, guiding people to live in harmony with the natural flow of life. It teaches that the universe has a fundamental essence called the Tao, often translated as the Way, which cannot be fully described but can be experienced through simplicity, balance, and awareness. Taoism invites us to observe life deeply, embracing its rhythms rather than resisting them. At its heart, Taoism emphasizes living with humility, patience, and compassion. The principle of Wu Wei, or effortless action, encourages moving with life's currents rather than forcing outcomes. Yin and Yang reveal that opposites are interconnected, reminding us that light cannot exist without darkness, joy without sorrow. Taoism also acknowledges the challenge of truly surrendering to the natural flow, as modern life often pulls us into constant struggle and control. The discipline of self-reflection and letting go requires courage, mindfulness, and trust. In everyday life, Taoism inspires quiet moments of reflection, mindful breathing, and gentle acceptance of change. It encourages treating others with kindness, nurturing nature, and finding peace in simplicity. Even small acts, like slowing down to appreciate a morning breeze or offering help without expectation, reflect Taoist wisdom. Society can benefit when people prioritize balance over competition, presence over distraction, and understanding over judgment. Ultimately, Taoism whispers a timeless truth: life unfolds best when we flow with it, not against it. In learning to harmonize with the world around us, we find serenity, clarity, and a deeper connection to existence itself. Zen philosophy. Zen philosophy invites us into a world where simplicity meets profound clarity. It is not just a philosophy but a way of experiencing life with mindfulness and presence. Born from the depths of Buddhist thought in China and Japan, Zen encourages us to step away from constant striving and instead observe reality as it is, moment by moment. At its heart, Zen revolves around awareness, meditation, and direct experience. It teaches that enlightenment is not a distant goal but a realization accessible in the ordinary, in the quiet of breathing, in the stillness of a single step. Life's challenges often arise from attachment, distraction, and the relentless pursuit of outcomes. Zen confronts these challenges by cultivating patience, acceptance, and an understanding of impermanence. It is a gentle discipline that asks us to face life with honesty, without illusions. In practice, Zen manifests in daily life through simple routines, mindful eating, walking, or even washing dishes. Each action becomes a chance to be fully present, to awaken to the ordinary beauty often overlooked. Society benefits when people carry this awareness, fostering empathy, calmness, and clarity in interactions. Zen encourages a life not of frantic accumulation but of meaningful presence, nurturing the mind and heart alike. Ultimately, Zen philosophy is a mirror, reflecting the depth of life in every moment. It whispers that peace, clarity, and fulfillment are not elsewhere but here, now, in the quiet breath of being. Ethics of war. War is often seen as a clash of armies and nations, yet beneath the strategies and weapons lies a deeper question: what is right and wrong in the heat of battle? It is the moral compass that guides decisions, even when survival and victory tempt compromise. At its core, the ethics of war confronts the human struggle between duty, honor, and the preservation of life. Central to this are ideas like just cause, proportionality, and distinction. War must have a reason that can be morally justified. The force used should match the threat, avoiding unnecessary suffering. Soldiers must distinguish between combatants and innocent civilians, protecting those who are not part of the fight. Yet, challenges abound: foggy battlefields, split-second decisions, and the emotional toll of seeing lives shattered make ethical choices profoundly difficult. These principles are not confined to soldiers on distant battlefields. They echo into daily life, shaping decisions in leadership, law enforcement, and even personal conflicts. When societies hold accountability for actions and question the morality of violence, they nurture empathy and responsibility. Citizens who understand the consequences of war weigh intervention with care, advocate for peace, and support those affected by conflict. Ultimately, reflecting on the ethics of war forces us to confront uncomfortable truths: the cost of human life, the weight of decisions, and the urgent need for compassion. It reminds us that even in the darkest hours, morality must remain a guiding light, shaping not just nations, but the human heart. Existential freedom. From the moment we awaken to the awareness of our existence, we are confronted with a profound, almost dizzying truth: we are free. Not free in the simple sense of choosing between two paths or deciding what to eat for breakfast, but free in the raw, unsettling sense of shaping our very being. This freedom is the heartbeat of our existence, the silent whisper that reminds us we alone are responsible for the choices that define us. At its core, this freedom demands honesty. It asks us to confront life without illusions, to recognize that the roles, expectations, and rules around us are not chains but invitations. Yet, with this boundless liberty comes struggle. The weight of responsibility can feel crushing. The absence of predetermined meaning leaves us wandering in uncertainty. Fear, doubt, and guilt often shadow the path of self-determination. Still, it is precisely this tension that carves the contours of our authentic selves. In practice, existential freedom manifests in the way we live each day. It shows in the courage to speak truths, to pursue passions that resonate with the soul rather than societal approval, to embrace failure as a teacher rather than a verdict. Relationships deepen, creativity flourishes, and life feels intensely vivid when we own our freedom instead of fleeing it. Ultimately, existential freedom is both gift and challenge, a call to live deliberately, to breathe authenticity into every decision, and to recognize that the essence of being human is not merely to exist, but to exist freely, profoundly, and courageously.